So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 1. What if Naruto was trained by Makarov Dreyar in Fairy Tail? Here is a summary. Born under complicated circumstances, Naruto was never able to meet his parents. So he was adopted and raised by Makarov Dreyar, who helped raise him into the mage and most importantly person he would grow to be. Now watch as the child of the Spriggan and the good fairy rise above his parents and become something more than either of them could even imagine. So, are you guys excited to watch the story? 100% you guys are excited, I know. But before we jumped into the story, please destroy the like and subscribe button with your fingers. Until they change their color. Now let's start the story. Chapter 1. A Child of Light and Darkness. The Black Wizard Zeref was known throughout history as a monster who desired nothing besides death and destruction. Stories passed over the centuries retell the horrors of the demons which he brought into the world to do his bidding. Cultists worshipped the ideal of this dark and vile being and the values that he represented. Though what no one knew was the story of Zeref Dragneel, a cursed boy whose only wish was to bring his younger brother back to life. Though as the years passed that dream faded into the darkness that followed him like his own shadow. This darkness was his curse, the Anksaram black magic which would kill anything that he loved. So this forced a boy who couldn't die to separate himself from all human contact and do nothing besides plan a way to take his own life and end this nightmare. With the goal of ending his own life, he created his Demons of Tartaros and the Book of END, which contained the master of Zeref's group of demons. Unfortunately even his own creations didn't possess the power to end Zeref's life. This forced a dark wizard to live throughout the centuries in his own depression, always hoping for the day when he would draw his final breath. Eventually Zeref's never-ending nightmare was brought to a momentary halt when he met a young woman named Mavis Vermilion. She was the light that brightened the darkness that shadowed him. In fact what no one knew was that Mavis shared Zeref's curse, so in a way Mavis and Zeref were bonded on a level beyond comprehension. This bond brought the two doomed souls together in love. They spent an entire year together away from other humans and started a life together in solitude. However, Zeref was destined for a life of misery when one night his curse overpowered Mavis's own, causing the first master of Fairy Tail to fall into a state close to death. Though Zeref believed that she was lost forever, so he returned her body back to Fairy Tail. This was when the second master of Fairy Tail, Precht, took Mavis away and sealed her away in a crystal with hopes of bringing his friend back in the future. Though as time passed Mavis remained trapped inside the crystal with her curse being the only thing keeping her somewhat alive. However, Mavis wasn't the only one inside the crystal, as there was a tiny spark of life within Mavis. One that was half dark and half light, a perfect balance of yin and yang. This was her unborn child and, due to Mavis's predicament, her body could only focus so much of her remaining life force to keep the child inside her womb alive. Precht, being the brilliant man he was, placed runes onto the crystal when he discovered Mavis's fate and that she was with child. His goal was to give enough power so that Mavis could stay alive and the child would be able to grow inside her like a normal pregnancy. Though instead of the usual 9 months this method would take years, even decades, for the child to be born. Precht didn't care, he just wanted to help his friend any way he could. So with that, Fairy Tail's ultimate secret was born and it stayed a secret until the day Precht decided to hand the title of master over. He showed Mavis to his successor Makarov Dreyar and told the man of her condition. This caused the now third guild master to do everything in his power to not only keep her a secret but to try and save her. He tried his best to save the woman, but her condition was far beyond his understanding. Soon the years passed by and Makarov was unable to do anything for Mavis. In fact the short guild master now spent a majority of his time raising his grandson Laxus after he was forced to expel Laxus's father from the guild, causing the man to run off and leave his son behind. Soon the thought of saving Mavis fell into the background of Makarov's life, but that changed on the day of October 10, X 768. Which is the day where our story begins. With Makarov sitting alone in his office with nothing besides his work and thoughts, Makarov worked diligently on his paperwork for the guild. His thoughts though were constantly being shifted to his 8-year-old grandson Laxus. It has been 3 years since his father had experimented on the small child, causing Makarov to expel his son from the guild. So for the past 3 years the short master has spent most of his time raising Laxus. Currently his grandson was at their home asleep, while Makarov worked on some important paperwork regarding a few missions his mages had been on. While he worked he thought more and more about Laxus. His grandson had been an official member of the guild for 2 years now and already showed great promise and power. This made Makarov extremely proud and he hoped his grandson would turn out to be a wonderful man in the future. Well that should be enough work for today. Makarov mumbled in exhaustion while moving his papers together in a neat stack. I swear that damn Gilderts is going to be the death of me. 6 more reconstruction fees from towns he's demolished. I don't have time for this, it's getting late I should go home and check on Laxus. Makarov jumped out of his chair and walked towards the door of his office. However, before he could grasp the doorknob he heard an unfamiliar cry. What in the world? The aged wizard mumbled in confusion before taking a moment to listen in closer. That sounds like a baby crying, but that's not right. No one is at the guild besides me. Following after the sound, Makarov quickly found himself heading towards the fairytale basement. Soon he found himself standing at the door of Lumen History, where the crying could be heard easily from within. Slowly preparing himself for a trap, Makarov prepared his magic and walked into the room. What the hell? The wizard saint mumbled in confusion as he walked over to a small child laying before the first master's crystallized body. A baby boy, how is this possible? Without thinking, Makarov picked the boy up and took notice of his spiky blonde hair that held a small streak of black down the middle. He also took notice of the child's beautiful bright blue eyes and whisker-like birthmarks on his checks. You're a beautiful child, but how in the world did you end up here? Makarov asked himself as he continued to observe the small baby. The answer is simple, he is my son. A female voice answered, causing Makarov to turn around in surprise. The first? Makarov shouted in a hushed tone, trying not to startle the baby. Mavis walked towards Makarov in her ethereal form and then looked to her body. I have been pregnant with my little Naruto for years, but thanks to my condition giving birth wasn't really an option. So thanks to the help of Prect I was able to muster up enough magic to give birth to my son by teleporting his body out of my own. Makarov looked down to the child with wide eyes. Prect only told me about you being trapped within the crystal. He never mentioned anything like this, but how could you sustain your life and his while being in the crystal? Mavis smiled and tried to touch her son, but her hand passed through his body, causing the new mother to frown. Like I said, it's all thanks to Prect. He figured out I was pregnant and devised a way to help my child grow and even created a way for me to get him out of my body once the time was ready. Now all that is left is for someone to raise my child. So I'm going to ask you to do it for me, Makarov, raise my little Naruto. The short guild master was stunned, he didn't know if he could raise another child while running a guild at the same time. First, I don't know if I can. I already have so many responsibilities and I'm not the best at raising children. Just look how my son turned out. Mavis puffed out her cheeks and placed her hands at her hips. That's bull, Maki-chan, you were a great father and you are raising Laxus to be even better. Besides, you are the only one who can raise my son. No one but you knows about me and I can't raise Naruto. Makarov looked down to Naruto, who had fallen asleep in the master's arms. Fine, I will raise him, but I would like to know who his father would be. Mavis waved the wizard saint off. He's someone from the past you wouldn't know of. Besides, I have one more request, Naruto will not know of me. It would be much easier for him to grow up believing he is your grandson. But first he should have the right to know about you, and even if I lied to him and said he was my grandson, Laxus wouldn't believe that Naruto was my grandchild either. Mavis smiled and kept her gaze of her sleeping child. He doesn't need to know about me or my sins. The first master explained cryptically. And as for believing that he is your grandson, it would be easy to lie and say your son had another child which he left off with you. Makarov thought for a moment, then after a short time thinking to himself he looked down into Naruto with a smile. Fine, I can accept those terms for the time being. Happy birthday, Naruto Dreyar. Mavis smiled and started to fade away, knowing her son was in good hands. Grow up well, Naruto, and know mommy will always be watching over you. The founder of Fairy Tail promised before she disappeared. 5 years later. X773. It has been 5 long years since Makarov had adopted Naruto into his family. Since that time all of the current members of the guild bought into the lie of Naruto's origin, considering leaving a child behind would seem like something Ivan would do. And since he wasn't around to deny being Naruto's father, everyone accepted Naruto as the master's grandson. After all, everyone believed that Makarov wouldn't gain anything from lying, so why would he even try to? Even Laxus, who was now 13, accepted his little brother and was not only protective over Naruto, but was the small 5-year-old's role model. The two blondes were inseparable, and this brought a change in Laxus that made Makarov beyond glad. This change started around the time Laxus took up his role as older brother. Instead of the traumatized boy angry at his father, the eldest grandchild became strong and caring. Traits that Makarov hadn't seen in Laxus since his father left, causing the aged wizard to believe having Naruto in their lives was a true blessing. Speaking of Naruto, the child was a true marvel. At 5 years old he could already speak and write perfect English. A feat that many people well beyond his age never master. He also had a very mature mindset, but for some reason never asked about his parents. Something that Makarov found off, because what child wouldn't want to know about his parents? Even if the master promised he would lie and keep Mavis's identity as Naruto's mother a secret, it was still odd. Though there were two things that set Naruto apart from any other child his age. The first thing was his personality, which was a happy and carefree attitude mixed in with a little side of recklessness, especially when magic was involved. Bringing up the topic of magic, this is what made Makarov's life a struggle. See, Naruto held unrealistic amounts of magic within his body at the age of 5. In fact, the master believes that Naruto's magical reserves rival his own. Which was a scary thought when you think that all Naruto can do from this point on is grow stronger and stronger. Makarov chalked up these impressive reserves as a byproduct of the first master's magical power and how she was pregnant within the Lumen history for years. Though Makarov was half right, the rest of the truth stemmed from Naruto's true father, Zeref. Though regardless of his lineage, Naruto was a true genius who was already learning magic. Currently he was learning advanced lightning magic from Laxus and has been reading dozens of books over wind, water, fire and even earth magic. He even asked one of Fairy Tail's older members, Mikao Kombold, to help him with his fire magic. Though the blonde was disappointed in the lack of wind, water and earth mages in Fairy Tail, as he really wanted to master the 5 basic elements, and having a teacher made things much easier. But not having a teacher didn't deter the small child, he trained every day he could. Already he was starting to show remarkable progress and something else as well. See, the master took notice to some odd occurrences when he would supervise Naruto during his training. Whenever Naruto would focus hard enough or show intense moments of anger and happiness, Makarov would notice the area around the blonde would undergo certain events. Sometimes Naruto would become so mad that he would unknowingly push rocks and dirt away from his body by using some unknown force. And when the blonde would meditate and focus, Makarov noticed again he would cause objects to levitate in the air. This made the master wonder if his adopted grandson has the natural ability to control gravity. This wasn't a rare occurrence as most people are naturally attuned to learning one time of magic without much work. So the master theorized that Naruto had the ability to use some form of gravity magic. But he wasn't going to pursue this theory and help train Naruto just yet. First he was going to help the boy learn the magic that he sought after to learn in the first place. So joining Naruto and Makarov, we find the two walking down the streets of Magnolia with Laxus following close behind. You showed real progress today, Naruto-chan, I am very proud of you. Makarov revealed with a large cheeky grin. Keep up the hard work and you will be Fairy Tail's ace one day. Naruto's eyes lit up with excitement at his grandfather's compliment and started to jump up and down. Do you really think so, Jiji-chan? I mean, I work really hard and I can already use lightning and fire magic. I bet if I work even harder I can start using wind, water and earth magic too. Laxus smirked at his little brother's determination. The little 5-year-old wouldn't stop practicing till he was the best at everything. Settle down, Naruto, you are already learning 2 types of magic. Don't go overboard, you are only 5 for crying out loud. You have plenty of years to learn other types of magic. Laxus spoke as the voice of reason while ruffling Naruto's hair and causing him to calm down a little. Hey, I'm 5.5. Besides, I can't wait till I'm older because I'm going to be the strongest mage Fairy Tail has ever seen. So I have to start early if I want to pass you, Jiji-chan and Gilderts in strength. Naruto shot back quickly, showing yet again how determined he was to grow stronger. Makarov smiled and picked Naruto up and quickly placed the child on his shoulders. I know you can do it, Naruto-chan. Just keep working hard and I'll be proud no matter what happens. Laxus looked up to his younger brother with a devious smile. The same one that Naruto would use when he would pull a prank. You know, Naruto, you can't be the best until you officially join the guild. Can't he Fairy Tail's ace if you are not a member of Fairy Tail? Naruto placed his hands around his face and started to panic. Oh crap, you are right, I'm not a member of Fairy Tail yet. The blonde shrieked in worry, causing Makarov and Laxus to chuckle. Well, why don't we fix that, Naruto-chan? Makarov promised with an honest smile. Naruto's eyes grew big and he hunched over to make eye contact with his grandfather. Really, Jiji-chan, I can become a Fairy Tail mage, the small boy shouted in excitement. I don't have a problem with it. Do you, Laxus? The eldest Dreyar asked. Laxus crossed his arms and looked to Naruto with pride. He did train the blonde to use his strongest form of magic after all. Yeah, old man, I think he's ready to join the guild. He's already stronger than half the weaklings in the guild anyhow. The teen replied, showing a small distaste for the weaker members of the guild. Makarov pushed the weakling comment off and focused on Naruto. Well, that settles things. Let's head off to the guild and get you a guild mark. Naruto tossed his hands up in victory. Today was the day he became an official mage of Fairy Tail. And the ethereal form of Mavis watching above couldn't have been happier. 1 year later. X774. It has been 1 year since Naruto became an official Fairy Tail mage by getting his guild mark, which was a dark orange symbol stamped onto Naruto's right shoulder. Though he wasn't just a mage in name, considering with the aid of Laxus Naruto has managed to complete several missions without trouble and even complete one A-class quest. Though that mission almost cost Naruto and Laxus both their lives, but it allowed Naruto to unlock some of his hidden potential. Flashback. It was a simple mission really, go into a town and clear out a group of dark mages that had been kidnapping children and shipping them off somewhere out to sea. Though things are never as easy as they seem. The Dark Guild was supposed to be low in numbers and overall pretty weak. No sweat for a powerful wizard like Laxus who was climbing his way into the ranks of S-class. Plus he had Naruto by his side who was young but was already a B-class caliber mage. So the two brothers believed their mission would go without a hitch. And it did for the most part as Naruto and Laxus decimated every dark wizard in their path. However, when they finally made their way to the guild's master things took a drastic turn for the worse. See, even though the guild itself was pretty weak and the master had average strength, but he had a type of magic that Laxus couldn't stand against, Rubber Man magic. No matter what Laxus did, his lightning had no effect on the man. Same went for Naruto, but the blonde still had his fire magic. Though even that wasn't enough, as the man beat both boys without mercy across his guild hall. You little shits dare come into my guild and defeat my underlings. I'm going to break every bone in your body, then I'm sending you to the Tower of Heaven. That way you can spend the rest of your miserable lives in slavery. The guildmaster declared in a vile tone while standing over top a beaten Laxus. Piss off. The elder brother growled, charging electricity through his body. He tried to send a jolt of lightning through the dark wizard. The man laughed as the lightning passed harmlessly through his body. Do you ever learn? The man sneered as he kicked Laxus in the ribs, causing the second-generation dragon slayer to cry in pain. Naruto was laying on his stomach a couple feet away and watched his brother get beaten in horror. Laxus Nai. Naruto called out weakly in fear before looking up to the man. Stop hurting him. The dark mage ignored Naruto and continued to attack the defenseless Laxus, causing the older boy to ball up and try to protect himself. Naruto, run away while you can. Laxus ordered loudly, ignoring the blonde's cries for the man to show Laxus mercy. Oh, he isn't going anywhere. The man chuckled as he kicked Laxus once more, causing the blonde teen to cough up blood. Naruto's eyes grew wide when he saw Laxus bleeding. Stop hurting my brother. The child shouted as he rose to his feet, his magical power slowly rising. The man slammed his foot down on Laxus's face and held it there. Oh, and what are you going to do, brat? The air around Naruto grew heavy and dirt and rubble started to float around him. I said stop hurting my brother. Naruto cried as he raised a hand up into the air. The man was taken by surprise when he was quickly lifted into the air. What the hell? He called out as he tried to swing and jerk his way free. At lost. Naruto mumbled as he flicked his wrist, causing the dark mage to take off flying through the guild's roof and travel off into the distance. Laxus looked to his brother with wide eyes, unable to believe what he just witnessed his brother do. What kind of power was that? The elder of the two gasped in shock, while Naruto ran over to his aid. Flashback end. After that incident, Makarov refused to let his two grandchildren take another mission for an entire month. Though eventually he cracked and allowed the two to take missions again. However, Makarov learned about what Naruto did and he was rather happy about being correct about his suspension of the blonde having some kind of gravity magic. So he spent a vast majority of the time helping his grandson master his abilities. And the stuff the now 6-year-old Naruto could do with gravity magic was a little frightening. Not only could he pull and throw large and small masses, he could increase the gravity or decrease the gravity in a certain area and even repel attacks with a force of gravity. This made the master believe that Naruto could really one day, when he becomes of proper age, be the new ace of fairy tale. And he was going to help his grandson get to that level. Today, however, wasn't a day to train or do missions. Instead the master was busy with some legal documents and Laxus was out with his new friends, Freed, Evergreen and Bixlow, who created the group of his personal bodyguards, the Thunder God tribe. So Naruto's was left alone in the guild's main hall with nothing but his thoughts and a bowl of ramen while he sat at the guild's bar. Such a boring day. Naruto moaned in boredom while using his hand to make ramen levitate into his mouth. Stupid Laxus Nai, ditching me for his cool new friends, I wish I had friends. Naruto sunk into depression as he realized there wasn't any members in the guild around his age. Sure, there was Laxus and his friends, but they were all much older than him and didn't really like to do the things he did. Hey kid. An unfamiliar voice spoke up from behind, causing Naruto to turn around. Where is the guild's master? I have to see him. Naruto looked down to the boy, he appeared to be a year or two older than Naruto, which made the blonde slightly happy. He also noticed the boy had a pack on his shoulders, so maybe he was thinking of joining the guild. Being too overjoyed to respond, Naruto started to look at his potential new friend's appearance. He was taller than Naruto by at least 6 or so inches, and his spiky hair was jet black. The boy had a simple white coat with orange fur around the collar that was left open, revealing his plain blue shirt that went well with his plain blue jeans. Finishing his ensemble off was a silver cross necklace around his neck. "Hey, you gonna answer me or keep looking weird?" The kid asked while looking at Naruto with a cold expression. Naruto gave the boy a cheeky smile. "Hi, I'm Naruto Dreyar, future ace of Fairy Tail." The blonde introduced happily. "Who are you? And would you be my friend?" The name is Gray Fullbuster. And I'm here to talk to the master, not make friends." "So once again, where is your master?" The now named Gray revealed in an irritated tone, causing Naruto to pout and look away. "No, I'm not telling you." The blonde replied stubbornly. "Not till you become my friend." "Fine, I'll just ask someone else." Gray replied smoothly while turning his back to Naruto. Freaking out, Naruto jumped off his stool and got in front of Gray. This made the older of the two smirk in victory. "Alright, I'll help you find the master since we are friends now," Naruto explained quickly, causing Gray to sigh. "You are really annoying, but call me whatever you want." Gray replied as he decided on giving up and letting the blonde call him friend. "Alright, let's go. Grandpa should be in his office right now. Just follow my lead," Naruto revealed before taking off towards Makarov's office. "Grandpa?" The ice mage mumbled as he titled his head and followed after Naruto. Soon Naruto stopped at the door to Makarov's office and without waiting or knocking he walked inside. "Hey Gigi-chan, my friend wants to talk with you." Makarov took a break from his documents and looked up to his grandson in gray. The latter of whom was gritting his teeth in annoyance, causing the master to laugh as he picked up on the situation. "Well, since you are Naruto's friend, what can I do for you?" the eldest Dreyar asked while folding his hands over his desk. Gray looked forward with a stern face and clenched his fists. "Do you know anything about the iced shell spell? I've been searched countless guilds hoping someone would know how to reverse its effects." Makarov slightly frowned. "I'm faintly familiar with the iced shell. It's a spell used by ice make wizards. If memory serves right, the spell takes the caster's body and molds it into ice that cannot be melted." Gray merely nodded, knowing all this himself, but he waited for the other half of Makarov's reply. "To my knowledge, I never heard of anyone actually casting that spell. Nor have I heard of a way to reverse its effects." The master then rose to his feet and walked over to Gray. "So tell me why a young ice make wizard wants to know how to reverse its effects." Gray was taken back by surprise, while Naruto looked to the boy in wonder. "Wow, you're an ice make wizard? That's awesome." The blonde shouted in excitement. "You'll have to show me your magic." Ignoring Naruto, Gray looked towards the master. "How did you know about my magic?" Chuckling to himself, Makarov began to speak. "It's fairly obvious with a boy your age traveling to different guilds asking about a dangerous spell. It's not hard to figure out you have connections with ice magic in some way. Besides, ever since you entered the room the temperature inside has dropped, which normally happens when an ice mage is present. So tell me, who is the person that used the iced shell spell?" Gray looked down, his hair overshadowing his eyes. "My master. Her name was and she protected me from a demon that killed my family and demolished my home. It's my fault she is dead. I went after Aura against her wishes, so she paid the price to save me. So I'm going to do everything I can to save her." Makarov stalked over to the boy and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Listen. Gray." Naruto chimed in. Makarov smiled. "Gray, there isn't anything you can do for your master. She is gone, but there is one thing you can do." "And what is that?" Gray asked in a weak voice. He had lost everything and traveled so far for nothing. "You can continue to live with the life she sacrificed for you. Join my guild and make new friends and cherish the memory of your master. I believe it's what she would have wanted for you." Tears started to run down Gray's face. "Do I deserve such freedom? Do I deserve a chance at happiness?" "I believe you do," Makarov replied with a small smile, trying to cheer the boy up. "Why don't you have my grandson show you around the guild? In the meantime, I'll get some paperwork set up and get you a place to live in town." Gray started to dry his tears and he looked over to Naruto, who was giving him a friendly smile. "Alright, I'll give it a try." "Great, my friend is going to stay." Naruto cheered happily before his jaw dropped and he pointed a finger at Gray. "What the hell happened to your clothes?" Gray tossed his hands in the air and looked to the pile of clothes on the ground. "Oh, you have to be kidding me." Makarov had a bead of sweat trickle down the side of his head. Gray was definitely going to make an interesting addition to Fairy Tail. 2 years later. X776. It's been 2 years since Gray joined Fairy Tail, and the Ice Make Mage couldn't have been a better addition to the guild. Over the past 2 years he finally accepted Naruto as a friend and the two formed a very close bond. Gray was like a second brother to Naruto, just like Laxus, but Gray was more relaxed and goofy, while Laxus had grown to be more serious as the years went by. Naruto didn't mind how his brother was changing, as he would still do jobs with Laxus and the Thunder God tribe. Though he found himself doing a lot more missions with Gray as well. He eventually started doing enough mission to earn himself the moniker Imsei Kami, or the Fairy God in other words. This name came from how the small 8-year-old behaved in battle. Normally Naruto was a bright and childish boy who enjoyed life. Though in battle many of the dark mages he defeated described him in ways a child his age shouldn't be like. See, in battle Naruto was ruthless and powerful, so powerful that most of his opponent believed he wasn't a child, but some divine being sent down to destroy the wicked. Of course this wasn't true, but his name grew quickly in fame as he was the grandson of a wizard saint. Also his power was impressive to say the least for his age. So thus the Imsei Kami was born. Naruto enjoyed his title as he felt it fitted the future ace of fairy tale, but the child wasn't foolish. He knew his moniker was only a name, and he definitely had his limits. He was strong, but there were plenty of stronger mages in the world. Like his grandfather, brother and current ace of fairy tale Gildert's just a few to name. Though he didn't let that fact deter him, it only pushed Naruto to train harder, improving his lightning, fire and gravity magic to all new heights. He even beginning to grasp the concepts of wind magic on his own, leaving only earth and water magic on his list. His magic wasn't the only thing that improved as his physical attributes had increased as well. This was thanks to all the missions and friendly spars he had with Gray and Laxus. Though at the moment, Naruto was returning to the guild with Gray. They had just finished a mission which involved clearing a small band of dark mages out of a small fishing village. A mission which was a cakewalk for the two young mages. Man Gray, that mission was a real letdown. I mean, it took us 3 days of traveling for what? A 20-minute fight where the leader started to cry like a baby. Naruto whined in annoyance while he walked by Gray's side. Laxus Nai gets all the good missions since he is S-class. Gray remained calm as always and placed his hands into his pockets. Yeah, I'll give it to you, Whiskers, this was a waste of time. Maybe the master will let us take the S-class exam soon. I know I'm up for a new challenge. Beating on weak dark mages is getting old. Naruto deflated at his 10-year-old friend's remark. Yeah, I know, it's like they want us to kick their asses or something. It's just gotten too easy, but I doubt Jiji-chan would let us take the exams. Laxus is 16 and he became S-class a year ago. I'm only 8, so there is no way he will allow me to take them. And I would bet that places you in the same boat as me. Gray gritted his teeth as he saw the approaching guild in the distance. Shit, that could mean it would be at least 5 years before I could move up. Maybe even longer than that. After all, the exams aren't held every year. Naruto interjected, causing the mage to slump over. You have a good point. Naruto held a finger up. Also, even if one is held and you are chosen as a candidate, who is to say you won't get beat out by someone else? Gray shot a glare towards Naruto. Now you are just bumming me out, jerk. Naruto laughed as he placed his hands on the guild's doors. Hey, I'm only making valid points here. Yeah, well, the only people in the guild who could have a shot against me is you and your brother's little groupies. The ice wizard replied as he and Naruto walked into the guild. As they walked they noticed Makarov talking to a girl with scarlet-colored hair and an eye patch. She was dressed in worn-out dirty clothes, causing Naruto to take instant notice of her. Hey Jiji-chan, who is that you're talking to? The Imsei Kami asked, while Gray followed up behind, already stripped down to his boxers. Yeah, master, who is she? The ice wizard asked. Naruto sighed without even looking at his friend. Gray, your clothes. The blonde pointed out, showing he was accustomed to this happening. Ah, damn it, not again. The black-haired stripper yelled in embarrassment. The unfamiliar girl brought a hand to her lips and couldn't help but smile and let a small laugh pass through, causing Makarov to smile wide. This was as much emotion as the girl has shown in the past hour. Naruto, Gray, this young lady is Urza Scarlet. She is a friend of an old buddy of mine, Rob. She has come to Fairy Tail to become an official Fairy Tail mage. And Urza, I'd like you to meet my grandson Naruto Dreyar and his friend Gray Fullbuster. Gray tossed his hand in the air and muttered a yo. Naruto on the other hand acted a little different. He ran up to the girl at surprising speeds and held a hand out. Hi Urza, it's nice to meet you. Since we already know each other's names, let me show you around the guild. After all, we are friends now. The blonde offered nicely, while not giving her a say on the latter. Friends? We just met. Urza mumbled weakly, showing she was still traumatized by something. Gray slipped by Urza and whispered into her ear, causing the girl to go on edge by his closeness, something that Naruto and Makarov both picked up on. Just be his friend, trust me, he's a persistent little guy. But a good friend when you get to know him. Naruto grabbed Urza by the arm and started to drag her off. Come on Urza, we have places to be. Naruto shouted happily as he walked off, leaving the master and Gray behind. Urza removed her arm from Naruto and retreated back. I'm perfectly capable of walking on my own. The one-eyed girl replied before continuing to walk. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and started to point different areas out. There is the bar where you can get food and drinks. Like ramen and strawberry cake. Urza looked over to the side and titled her head. Strawberry cake. The girl murmured in confusion. She never had anything like that before, thanks to the old life she lived. Yeah, it's pretty good, but nothing beats ramen. Naruto explained happily before pointing over to where Nab was standing. That's the mission request board where you can take a job for money. And that bastard over there is Nab, he never does a single job. Hurry up and decided on something already, Nab. The blonde called the last part out towards Nab. Turning around, Nab waved the blonde off. I'm coming close to finding one. Naruto mumbled yeah right and continued his tour. Above you is the second floor, which is reserved for S-class mages only. So don't even think about going up there unless you have passed the S-class exams. Urza nodded in understatement. And now for my favorite part. Naruto chuckled mysteriously as he took off towards the guild's back door, walking outside and running towards a small river bank. They arrived at just the right time to see the sunset. What is this? Urza asked as she walked up from behind. Naruto took a seat by the water and smiled. This is where I come to train and clear my head. So I figured this would be a great place to end the tour. And an even better place to find out what pain is within your heart. Ezra's lone eye grew wide. What are you talking about? The girl asked in a weak voice. Naruto patted his hand against the ground. Take a seat and I'll tell you. Urza hesitated for a moment but eventually did as she was asked. I might be young, but I can easily tell something is wrong. You act all depressed and alone, while your trust for others isn't the best. I mean, you about attacked Gray when he got too close. So tell me, Urza, what happened to you? Urza looked away. I can't. Urza-san, you need to open up to someone. Naruto shot back quickly, causing Urza to look towards him and take a deep breath. I was a slave. She began weakly as she started to zone out and remember all her pain and hardship. I've never had anyone to call a friend or family until I met my fellow slaves who experienced the same hardship as me. Though during a rebellion one of my friends changed. He turned, I just don't know. Naruto looked over to Urza and noticed her tears. Shhh Urza, you don't have to say anymore. We can talk about this in time when you are ready. The small child explained while moving a hand to brush her tears. Though as his hand passed Urza's eye patch, it began to glow a luminescent green. Then before Naruto or Urza could even make a proper response, the green aura flew onto Urza's eye patch before quickly disappearing. What in the world? Naruto mumbled in shock as he jerked his hand back to inspect. Urza on the other hand slowly brought her hands trembling to her eye patch. Then as she removed the patch, she gasped in surprise. You healed my eye. I can see again. Urza revealed before barreling into Naruto and giving him a hug. Thank you. Then as she backed away, Naruto saw her healed eye flash red before shifting to its normal color. Naruto was still too surprised to even think of a response. He didn't know any type of healing magic, epically one that could restore a fully damaged eye. All the blonde knew was that he needed to speak with his grandfather immediately. Excuse me Urza, I have to go find my grandfather. Naruto explained as he rose to his feet. Please keep what happened to your eye a secret for now. He added in before running off, leaving a confused Urza behind. Well, this is an interesting twist. Mavis mumbled to herself as she was watching her son the entire time. What other surprises does my son hold within himself? 1 year later. X777. It has been 1 year since Urza had joined the guild and Naruto had healed her eye. Like he said, Naruto went straight to his grandfather and explained everything. This brought the master a great deal of surprise and even caused him to look over Urza's eye. He found nothing wrong with the girl, showing that Naruto did truly heal her eye. This led the master to believe Naruto had another type of repressed magic. Though unlike his gravity magic, this was some kind of healing ability that could reform an eye. Which was no simple feat, making the master wonder what the limits of his healing magic was. It even made him wonder if it was a healing magic at all. Though until he got the answers he wanted, he forbid Naruto and Urza to speak a word about what happened. He didn't want people taking advantage of his grandson when he didn't know the drawbacks yet. Naruto and Urza easily agreed to the terms Makarov set, promising to keep what happened a secret. So for the last year, no one knew of Naruto's newest abilities beside a select few. This secret caused Urza and Naruto to grow closer as friends, referring to each other as siblings. This relationship grew even further when Urza revealed her full past to Naruto and Naruto only, causing the blonde to swear that he would always protect his older sister. The two would even do missions together, and sometimes Gray would tag along, causing the Ice Mage to form a friendship with Urza as well. Though they worked together, they were not an official team as Naruto enjoyed working with Laxus as well. So for now the blonde worked with various other mages throughout the guild. Though when he wasn't working a job or spending time with his friends and family, Naruto continued to train, and his training over the years has taken a serious spike. He had given up on learning water and earth magic for the moment as he needed to find a teacher for those fields. But he improved his other magics and was currently learning how to use 2 types of magic at the same time. So we joined Naruto in the backyard of the guild, meditating 10 feet in the air thanks to his gravity magic. In his left hand he had a spark of lightning dancing in his hand while in his right hand there was a bright red flame flickering about. "Alright Naruto, you have this." The blonde mumbled to himself while he slowly moved his hands closer together. "Just focus, picture the elements mixing in your hand." Slowly the fire and lightning started to bond and become one, causing Naruto to smile. "Almost there." Naruto spoke happily as a bead of sweat went down his forehead. "Hey kid, what the hell are you doing up there?" A loud and unfamiliar voice shouted. Naruto was caught off guard by the loud voice and he lost his concentration. This caused the magic in his hand to explode and send him rocketing into the ground. "Shit." The blonde cursed as he smacked the ground and got up on his feet. He quickly noticed the culprit behind his mess up. He was a boy around Gray's age and height, with spiky pink hair and a scale-patterned scarf. "Don't sneak up on people, jerk." The unfamiliar boy walked up to Naruto and held his hand out. "Hey, I'm Natsu, my dad was a dragon and I'm a dragon slayer. Wanna fight?" Naruto tilted his head at the strange boy's rather quick introduction. "Sure, why not?" Naruto replied as he shrugged his shoulders while planning to pay Natsu back for interrupting his training. Natsu brought his arm back and smirked, instantly coating his fist in fire. "Fire dragon. Fall." Naruto mumbled as he lowered his hand, causing Natsu to slam into the dirt. "I win," the blonde declared as he walked off. Natsu growled as he felt the large force holding him down release. "Oh yeah? Well, your back is turned," the dragon slayer yelled as he charged forward. "So?" Naruto asked without turning around. He simply moved his hand to the right and Natsu flew into the river, making a loud splash as he crashed into the water. Naruto smirked as he walked towards the guild's doors. He was enjoying his little payback too much. 3, 2, 1. "I'll knock your block off, jerk," Natsu declared right on cue as he jumped out of the water. Turning around, Naruto started to spin his finger around in a circle, causing Natsu to levitate and spin midair. "I don't think you will," the blonde replied, spinning Natsu so fast he started to have the dragon slayer motion sickness. "Bye now." Natsu stopped spinning in air for a brief second, but that didn't last long as he went sailing backwards into the river once more. "Shit." Natsu screamed as he floated to the top of the river. "Why can't I hit you?" Naruto giggled and took notice of the fairy tail emblem on the boy's shoulder, concluding he was a new member to the guild. "I'm just better than you, it would seem." Naruto taunted in a playful manner, trying to get a rise out of Natsu. "And the name is Naruto, by the way. Naruto Dreyar, and welcome to the guild, Natsu." Naruto then gave a wave and walked into the guild, where a scolding redhead was waiting for him. "Naruto, were you picking a fight with our newest guild member?" Urza asked in a commanding tone, causing Naruto to retreat backwards. "Urza-ni, you know I would never do such a thing." The blonde tried to reason, even though the scarlet-haired girl didn't buy into a word he said. "Oh really, then why are you backing away from me?" the elder mage asked in a sickly sweet voice. "Do you need punished?" Naruto looked around the guild for help. Gray noticed what was happening and already took off in the other direction. His older brother Laxus watched from the corner with some mild interest, as he didn't plan to help Naruto either. "I'm screwed," Naruto thought to himself while taking a hard swallow. Suddenly the doors to the guild flew open and Natsu came barreling in. "I got you this time, jerk," the pink-haired mage declared as he threw a blind punch forward, making solid connection with Urza's left cheek. The guild fell in silence as Natsu slowly realized what he had done. "Poor guy," Gray mumbled from across the room. "First day and he's already a dead man." Laxus laughed to himself. "Well, looks like I'm off the hook." "Thanks, Natsu," Naruto mumbled in a low voice while sneaking away. Natsu slowly moved his fist back and gulped. "Sorry." "Oh, you will be." Urza growled with fire in her eyes as she dragged Natsu off by his scarf. "I'm going to teach you some manners." "Someone help me," Natsu cried out, but everyone looked the other way as hell had no furry like a pissed Urza Scarlet. A fact Natsu was about to experience firsthand. "You'll fit in just fine here, Natsu," Naruto mumbled to himself as he watched the boy be dragged off in horror. "That is if Urza-ni doesn't kill you first." 1 year later, X778. It has been a whole year since Naruto and Natsu had first met. And since their first encounter, the Fire Dragon Slayer was determined to beat Naruto in a fight, considering he constantly challenged the blonde to a fight which would also end in Natsu being thrown through the air or smashed into the ground. Well, that is what would normally happen if Urza didn't intervene before most of their fights could start. She was the buzzkill of the guild and always tried to enforce people to behave better. Doing so in a way that struck fear in every single guild member, well besides Laxus. But he just really didn't give a shit about most things unless it involved his brother or the guild's reputation. Though back to Urza, she kept Natsu, Gray and Naruto under close watch and would punish any of the three boys if she saw them fighting. This caused them to act rather nervous and too friendly around her, even though Naruto could easily dispatch Urza by holding her in the air with his gravity magic. He was too afraid of his surrogate sister to do anything like that. Regardless that Naruto and Natsu had their fair share of scuffles as did Gray, deep down the three were best friends and grew extremely close over the past year. Though Gray and Natsu were too prideful to admit their friendship. At times Naruto would refer to Gray and Natsu as older brothers and then other times he would call them annoying bastards. Truly they had an interesting relationship but the three of them never once took a job together. This mainly due to Natsu and Gray's pride once again as they didn't want to say they needed one another's help. And speaking of jobs, currently the guild's favorite blonde-haired 10-year-old was busy traveling down a long dirt road with one of his favorite people, his older brother Laxus, who he hasn't done a job with in months. So Laxus Nai, are you excited for this mission? Naruto asked with a large smile, looking up to his older brother. Laxus, who was well within his teens and established as a powerful S-class mage, shrugged his brother off. This mission seems pretty boring to me. Not like the usual mission I'm accustomed to. Naruto deflated. This is why they haven't done any missions together recently as all the missions Naruto can do, Laxus views as weak and a waste of his time. So Naruto had to practically beg for his brother to go on an A-class quest with him. Come on Laxus Nai, we are hunting down a demon. Doesn't that sound exciting? Naruto asked again, trying to make his older brother enjoy the mission a little more. If this demon was anything special we would be the ones being hunted. Not the demon, so I feel like you should have had this one on your own. You are not weak like the rest of the guild, you are a Dreyar. Laxus replied in a disappointed tone. Naruto ignored the comment about weak members of the guild and frowned. It's not that I need your help. I just want to spend some time with my big brother. You are always too busy to train with me or do a job with me like when we were younger. Laxus looked down to his brother and sighed. No matter what kind of front he put up trying to act as if he didn't care or he was too good, he truly cared for Naruto as he was Laxus's only weakness. Well, that and transportation. Hey, don't be so down, Whiskers. Laxus spoke with a small smile while ruffling Naruto's hair. You and me have a demon to catch. Naruto smiled and looked up, his brother always came through for him in some way. The blonde wished that other members of the guild would see the mage like Naruto did. And maybe Laxus would see the guild the way Naruto sees it. But for now, Naruto was going to enjoy his time with his brother. Yeah, we do, Nai-chan. Chapter end, next time. Chapter 2. The Demon Family. So here is my new side project which is a challenge from my friend Melra. So I'm curious as to what everyone thinks of chapter 1. I wanted to introduce some of the important characters that will be in the story in this chapter. And I wanted to make each introduction unique and different instead of hi, my name is such and such, let's be friends. But I'd say you have a lot of questions regarding certain topics of the story, so let me iron some out. Naruto's magic is as followed. First, gravity magic like pain. Nagato's ability to push and pull objects. Second magic is elemental magic. Naruto will eventually be able to use fire, wind, lightning, earth and water magic. But for now he can only use the first three. Third one is the healing magic he used on Urza. This isn't like healing magic, it's much different and in time you will see what it really is. Fourth one is the undiscovered ability, to find it, we have to continue this story. Naruto walked cautiously behind Laxus, constantly checking their surroundings for anything suspicious. The elder brother on the other hand snorted and looked over his shoulder. Why are you so on edge, Naruto? We haven't even made it to the village or met with the client. The lightning mage pointed out. Naruto continued to check his surroundings while he and Laxus descended down a hillside towards the town. According to the job request, a demon is somewhere in the outskirts of the village. I'm just trying to observe our surroundings and see if I notice anything that is off. What is that supposed to mean, Naruto? It's a straightforward mission. We go in, get the demon's location from the client and then kill said demon. Which ends with us getting paid the reward. Naruto walked to his brother's side and placed a hand to his chin. Still, the closer we get to the village the more my gut is telling me something is off. It's like the time me and Gray took a mission that was a trap set by a dark guild. Sure, they were no threat to me and Gray, but you can never be too safe. The younger brother explained honestly. So you think this mission is a trap? Laxus asked in a bored tone, as he really didn't care if it was since he was a little overconfident in his own abilities. Naruto shook his head. No, that's not what I'm saying. I just have the feeling that something isn't right. Laxus rolled his eyes and walked through the gates of the village. Well, I can obviously tell this isn't a trap. Just look around, Naruto, the town seems perfectly fine. There are shops booming with business and look over there. A playground with kids happily playing about. Don't you want to help keep this peace? That's the thing, Laxus Nai, everyone is too happy. Naruto replied, causing the older mage to groan. Just listen to yourself, Naruto. Everyone is too happy. Face it, you are just being paranoid. The eldest Dreyar sibling accused as he took the lead once again and walked off. Naruto frowned, his gut was never wrong. And add the fact that the town looked untouched and perfect only increased the blonde's suspicion that something wasn't right. Regardless, he followed his brother into town and was occasionally greeted with a friendly hello by townsfolk passing by. Soon the two Dreyar siblings found themselves at the town hall, where the mayor who set the job request up was located. Laxus looked over his shoulder to Naruto and noticed his brother was still scanning the area. "Listen, Whiskers, I'll do all the talking, you just hang back and follow my directions," Laxus ordered in a stern voice, causing Naruto to pout and cross his arms. "Is that a problem? Why do you get to be in charge?" "It's my mission," Naruto grumbled in an annoyed tone. Laxus pushed Naruto's head back with a poke to the forehead. "Because I'm the older brother, so what I say goes," he explained before walking into the front door of the town hall. Naruto mumbled something about an annoying older brother under his breath before following Laxus inside. As they arrived in the interior, they were greeted by a friendly woman seated behind a small reception desk. "Greetings. Do you two have any business with the mayor?" the woman asked in a sweet voice. Laxus stepped forward and held out the job request. "We are mages from Fairytail. We are here in regards to the mission of eliminating a demon," the lightning mage explained before rolling the job request up. "So would you show us into the mayor's office?" The woman gave the two a warm smile. "That's wonderful news," she cheered happily before looking down to Naruto. "Oh my, you look awful young to be fighting a demon, young man." Naruto's eyebrow twitched. He was plenty capable of protecting himself regardless of his size and age. "Heh, trust me, this kid is fine, he's my little brother after all," Laxus said proudly while crossing his arms and giving Naruto an approving smile. "But we are wasting time talking about trivial things. Where is the mayor's office?" "Just head down the hall, and it should be the fourth door on the right," the woman instructed before giving a bow of respect. "And thank you for helping our town." Laxus nodded and walked off, making a gesture for Naruto to follow. The small blonde followed after his older brother and quickly made their way to the office doors. Wasting no time, Laxus knocked on the doors to the office. "Hello, we are mages from Fairytail. We are here to fix your demon problem," the S-class mage spoke through the door. "Ah, excellent, please come in. The door is unlocked," the elderly voice of the mayor replied. Laxus placed his hand onto the doorknob and walked into the office with Naruto lagging shortly behind. As the duo entered the room, Naruto was reminded of his grandfather's office back at the guild, since the mayor's office was rather plain, but had seats for guests and a large desk where the mayor would sit and do his duties. Speaking of the mayor, he was a fairly old gentleman, with large circular glasses, no hair and an all-black suit. Honestly, Naruto wasn't too impressed with the man so far. "So you are the ones that accepted our job request, well you look capable, but," the man took a pause and looked over to Naruto. "Could a child his age deal with a demon?" "Yup." Naruto already decided he hated the man. "Don't worry about my brother's ability. He is young, but he is already one of Fairytail's most promising wizards. Though I've done enough talking about my brother. Tell me about this demon we are here to eliminate," Laxus demanded in a firm tone. The mayor nodded. "Well, it's a straightforward explanation." Laxus placed his hands in his pockets and walked towards the door. He had all the information that he needed. "Alright, we should be back in an hour or two. Have our reward waiting for us," the lightning mage instructed before leaving the office, leaving Naruto temporarily alone with the mayor. "Need anything, my boy? Or are you afraid to go after the big bad demon?" the mayor asked, talking down to Naruto, who merely narrowed his eyes. Part of him didn't trust what the man said. "Hurry up, Naruto," Laxus shouted from the hallway. Naruto gave the mayor one final look before leaving the office, quickly making his way over to his brother. "Sorry Laxus Nai, I was deep in thought," the gravity mage explained while taking his place by his brother's side. "Whatever, Naruto. Let's just kill this demon so we can get paid and be done," Laxus replied impatiently, already walking off. Not leaving Naruto any time to voice his concerns with the mission. Instead, the blonde just slumped slightly forward and sighed. "Yeah, let's go, Nai-chan," the blonde mumbled unenthusiastically. Outskirts of town, inside the small cottage. Sitting together in a small corner of the cottage, three siblings latched onto each other for support. They had experienced and lost so much, as their parents had died years ago, and now they were currently marked as the family of demons. Though, this was because of the white-haired girl who was seated between her little brother and sister. See, the girl's name was Marahan Strauss, and she was the one marked as a demon by the entire village. Her little brother Elfman and Lysandra refused to believe such lies, they knew what their sister was. But fear is a terrible thing, and because people feared Mira, their whole family had to pay the price. "Mirani, I'm hungry," Lysandra cried in a weak voice, causing her sister to squeeze her tight. "I know, Lysandra, and don't worry, after sundown your big sister will get food," Mira replied sweetly, deciding to leave the method she's used to obtain food a secret from the girl. Elfman on the other hand knew what his sister would do and frowned. The townspeople stopped selling them goods and allowing them in shops. So during the night, Mira would sneak into the village and steal what they needed to survive. Maybe we should skip dinner tonight, Elfman proposed, trying to discreetly tell his sister not to steal. Mira turned red in anger. You and Lysana have to eat. It's my job to make sure that happens. The eldest of the siblings replied emotionlessly while standing to her feet. Lysana caught a glimpse of Mira's right arm, which had been altered to resemble a demon's arm. Mira, seeing her sister's gaze, jerked her black cloak in order to hide her arm. Mira, please don't. Elfman began as he stood up and faced his older sister, hoping his plea didn't turn into another argument. Mira took her good arm and pointed a finger at her brother. If the townspeople didn't shun us, we wouldn't be in this predicament now, would we? They should be thanking us for taking care of that demon. We can't control other people, but what we can do is not act like the monsters they think we are. Elfman shot back before leaning close in and whispering. Stealing isn't right, Mira. Lysana watched her two siblings silently argue, she hated watching them fight. Though under the circumstances that they lived in, it happened too often to even get upset about. Instead she stood up and walked over to a broken window. However, as she peered outside, Lysana's eyes grew wide. Mirani, Elfman Nai, we have a problem. The youngest of the three spoke up. Outside the cottage. I don't like this. Naruto admitted honestly as he looked over to the house. It was a one-story run-down home, with all the windows broken in and graffiti all over the walls and door. Reading words like demon, evil, leave town and so many more terrible things. What's not to like? Laxus asked as he walked slightly closer. The graffiti shows we are in the right place. Naruto couldn't help but roll his eyes. If the demon is such a threat, why would people risk their lives placing graffiti where the demon lives? The blonde asked, while inspecting signs of damage inflicted onto the house. Just look, Laxus, it looks like a mob attacked this place. I've already said it a dozen times today, but I have a bad feeling. And this right here only proves my feeling to be correct. Okay then, say I believe you might be right. What do you say we do? The elder brother asked, looking down to Naruto for a response. Simple, we walk forward and do a peaceful investigation. If things turn bad, you and I are plenty strong enough to protect ourselves. Naruto explained as he drew closer and closer to the house. Stop right there. A voice of a young female shouted out. Naruto stopped mid-step and looked forward, trying to locate the voice. Not taking much time at all, Naruto spotted a mess of white hair poking behind one of the broken windows. Laxus snorted and lightning danced around on his fingertips. Then without giving a warning, he fired a bolt of lightning towards the window, causing the female voice to shriek in fear. Laxus, stop. Naruto ordered while making a bolt of his own lightning and throwing it in order to cancel Laxus's attack. The two spells exploded with a loud crack of thunder, causing Laxus to growl and glare at his bother. What the hell are you doing, Naruto? The second-generation Dragon Slayer asked while getting in his brother's face. Naruto sighed and pushed a hand forward, causing his gravity magic to push Laxus back. I told you already, we need to investigate what is going on. Can you restrain yourself from attacking someone for 5 minutes? Laxus crossed his arms and walked over to a tree, then leaned against it. The mage closed his eyes and held up 5 fingers. 5 minutes, then I destroy that house and everything inside it. Naruto's eye twitched at his brother's literal reply. That's plenty of time, I guess. The blonde replied, already walking towards the house. Hello, I'm sorry for that little incident. My brother just likes to jump the gun every now and then. There was a pause of silence, causing Naruto to stop. My name is Makarov Dreyar, I'm a fairy tale wizard. My brother Laxus and I are on a job to hunt a demon. Is there one within the house? Laxus laughed and shook his head. Really, Naruto? Do you think a demon will tell the truth if one is inside or not? The mayor already said the demon takes the form of a small girl. Laini-chan isn't a demon. The voice from before shouted back in anger. Naruto looked to his brother with a plain expression. I don't remember the mayor saying anything about siblings. Seems like he didn't tell us everything. Are you starting to believe me now, Laxus? His attention slightly piqued, Laxus walked over to Naruto's side. You have 2 minutes left. The eldest blonde declared. Everyone within that house come out now. Or I will make you. Naruto looked at Laxus with disappointment, his brother wasn't helping at all. Laxus. Will you leave me and my family alone? An older female voice shouted, as a white-haired girl wearing a black cloak walked out of the cottage. She seemed to be around Ursa's age, and had the same lifeless eyes that the scarlet-haired girl had when Naruto first met her. Why do the townspeople want us to come here to hunt a demon? Naruto asked, trying to figure the situation out. Who are you? My name is Marahin and there is no demon here, so leave. Marahin replied with venom in her voice. Suddenly a small wind blew by, opening Mira's cloak and revealing her arm, causing her to freak out and quickly hide her arm. Seeing this, Laxus instantly charged lightning in his hands, causing Mira to retreat in fear. "So you are a demon?" The eldest Dreyar sibling growled. "Well, in that case you're going to die." "No." A voice of a boy and the girl from before shouted. Before two child ran out of the house and stood in front of Mira. "Leave our sister alone." Mira's eyes grew wide when she saw her siblings in danger. "Elfman, Lysana, what are you two doing? Get out of here, it's dangerous." "We are not leaving you alone, Marini," Lysana replied, glaring at Laxus and Naruto, though she was too afraid to move any further. None of her family knew magic, unlike the two standing before her. "Yeah, big sis, the three of us have to stick together no matter what," Elfman explained as he was slightly shaking in fear, just like both his sisters were. Naruto walked forward and held his hands out. "Will everyone just chill the hell out, Laxus, she is not a demon, her arm is just an incomplete takeover. And you three, we are not going to hurt anyone." The youngest of all the people present spoke up, showing his superior intelligence and his maturity when handling such a situation. Laxus lowered his hand and turned around. "That stupid mare." The eldest sibling growled in anger the moment her realized Naruto was right. "He wasted both our time. He's going to pay for that." Suddenly Laxus disappeared in a bolt of lightning, leaving the four children behind. Naruto looked off towards the town and chuckled. "Don't worry about him, when Laxus Nai gets pissed off it's best to let him blow off some steam." None of the siblings said a word. Instead they stayed still and looked fearful at Naruto, who was smiling wide, while bolts of lightning were firing down onto the ground near the town behind him. "You said something about an incomplete takeover." The girl known as Lysana spoke up, earning Naruto's attention. "What does that mean for my sister?" "Well, did your sister seem to absorb any animal, monster or even possibly a demon?" Naruto asked while taking a seat on the ground. The three children looked between each other and nodded. "Yeah, I think she did. A demon tried to attack the village a few months ago, but we ran into it on accident. Mirini jumped in the way to protect us, and the demon disappeared into her body." Elfman replied, explaining the situation for Naruto. "Yeah, and ever since then Mirini's arm has looked all weird and demon-like." Lysana added in, causing Naruto to nod. "Yup, that's an incomplete takeover, but unfortunately I don't know how to help you. Though my grandfather is really smart, he is Fairytail's guild master. If anyone could help you fix your arm it would be him." Naruto pointed out while giving the siblings a wide smile. "So why don't you come back to the guild with me and my brother? Even if you don't want to join the guild, wouldn't you want to be normal again?" Mira looked to her demon arm, then to her siblings. "What do you guys think?" "I don't think it's up for debate. We can't pass up a chance like this," Lysana reasoned. "Yeah, and besides there isn't anything left for us here. We could all join Fairytail and start a new life for ourselves." Elfman spoke happily, as the prospect of getting out of their current situation was too good to pass up. Mira nodded and brought her siblings into a hug. "Alright, we shall go together, as a family." The eldest sibling mumbled happily, causing Naruto to smile. "Alright then, why don't I help you guys get everything packed? Magnolia is quite a trip away," Naruto explained as he walked over to his three new friends. 7 months later. It has been 7 full months since Mira, Elfman and Lysana had joined the guild. And the three siblings were a perfect fit for the guild. Over the first couple weeks of their time at the guild, Makarov helped Mira master her demon form and even showed Lysana and Elfman how to do their own takeover. Once Mira became able to control her magic she was a lot more social. Though this wasn't the best thing as she would typically butt heads with Urza, causing the two to fight. Elfman would always try to calm his sister down, but he had very little success calming his sister down once she got started. He was too bashful and reserved to have the guts to tell his sister when she was out of line. Then finally there was Lysana, who over the last 2 months became Naruto's best friend. She owed a lot to the blonde for what he did for her family, and she chose to repay him by being the best friend she could be. This was a friendship that slowly turned into something else for Naruto. See, even though Lysana was his best friend and they spent all their time together, Naruto slowly found himself having feelings for the older girl. This growing to a point to where his older brother Laxus had taken a notice, but no one else did as no one truly knew Naruto like his brother did. Though Naruto never said anything because he knew his feelings were not returned the same way. He just hoped in time something might change. So that is where we join in on Naruto, as he is currently enjoying his favorite dish ramen, while Lysana sat beside him and observed him eat away. "You know that stuff is bad for you," Lysana warned, but the blonde didn't seem to care. "It has too much salt." Naruto placed a mouthful of noodles in his mouth and waved the girl off. Then by swallowing he smiled. "Well, if it kills me, I'll die a happy man." Lysana rolled her eyes. "Idiot, don't say stuff like that. I'd be lost without you, you're my best friend." Naruto looked to the side and stirred his noodles. He really needed to find a way to get Lysana to understand his feelings. "Yeah, sorry, I'd be lost without you as well." You are very precious to me, Lysana. The gravity mage replied, turning back to the girl with a soft smile. Though when he looked towards her, he instantly frowned. Her attention had been moved over to Mira and Urza, both of whom had started another one of their little scuffles. I better stop Mirani before it's too late. Lysana began before taking a deep sigh. For the fourth time this week. Naruto watched as the girl hopped off the bar stool and walked off, leaving Naruto alone with nothing besides his ramen and thoughts. Why do I keep thinking things are going to change between us? Sure, we are best friends, but I think that is all we will ever be. Naruto thought to himself as he sunk into a depression. Hey, would you mind if I sit here? A female voice asked, breaking Naruto from his daze. Looking to his left, he saw a girl around Gray's age with long brown hair and a yellow dress. She was holding a small glass of juice and she's standing beside the seat where Lysana was moments ago. Naruto motioned for her to sit and nodded. Knock yourself out. The blonde replied, while placing his attention back to his ramen. The girl took Lysana's old seat and looked to Naruto. I've only been here for a week and I thought it's time I introduced myself to someone. So hi, my name is Kana Alberona. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Didn't know we had a new guild member. The blonde commented back. The name is Naruto, by the way, Naruto Dreyar. Kana nodded and shot a sideways glance towards Lysana. You're always so preoccupied with your little friend over there, I'm not all too surprised that you were unaware of my presence. Naruto looked away as her words held a lot of truth. He had been spending a lot of his time with Lysana and maybe it was time to give the girl some space. Guess she doesn't see how into her you are. Kana added in, causing Naruto to nearly slip out of his seat in surprise. Slowly recovering from his surprise, Naruto looked over to Kana. Did Laxus tell you? The blonde thought with a small amount of anger. The older brother would always threaten to tell people about his crush, but he never thought Laxus would do so. Nah, I don't even know who this Laxus is. I've just observed a few people inside the guild. And I've noticed the way you look at her, it's a look that she doesn't return. Kana explained, causing Naruto to deflate in depression. Hey, don't get so down in the dumps on me. I came over here to have a nice conversation. Naruto nodded. Sorry about that, but I'm curious, Kana. What brings you to Fairy Tail out of all the guilds in Fiori? This time it was Kana that turned slightly depressed. I've been looking for someone. She admitted. Naruto waited in silence for a moment, but she never elaborated further. This caused the boy to tilt his head. Who are you looking for, Kana? Kana gazed down to the liquid in her glass. Someone that doesn't know I exist. She replied cryptically, before turning towards him. Listen, I really don't want to talk about it. So could we change the subject? Maybe talk about our magics or something. Naruto nodded, but made a mental reminder to remember this conversation. He wanted to help every member of the guild and Kana just made his list. Well, I know lightning, fire and wind magic, but my main magic is my gravity magic. Then there is my. Naruto took a pause and rubbed the back of his head. Sorry, can't talk about that one, Jiji-chan's orders. Kana looked at the younger child with surprise. Wow, I just started learning card magic and you already have over 4 types of magic. The girl replied in an unbelieving voice. Naruto gave the girl a cheeky smile. Yeah, I'm trying to learn more, but Jiji-chan and I think it's best I hold off on. Kana's mind was going in overdrive. The kid sitting beside her was only 10 years old. 2 years younger than herself, but yet he was powerful enough to be called the fairy god. He must be very powerful. Kana commented, trying to hide her surprise. Though you've mentioned your Jiji-chan. Who is that? Naruto smiled and noticed a small elderly man walking across the guild. Hey, grandpa. The boy shouted out as he waved to the short guild master, causing Kana's jaw to drop. Hey Naruto, glad to see you're making new friends. Makarov called back as he went on his way. Kana snapped her head over to the giggling blonde and pointed a finger at the retreating Makarov. Your grandfather is the freaking master. The girl shouted in surprise. Naruto nodded his head. Yeah, and my big brother Laxus is one of Fairy Tail's 2S class mages. Kana nodded, that means his brother was placed in the same tier of strength as the man she was looking for. Though before she could say anything a voice caught her attention. Hey Naruto, what's up? The voice of a completely naked Gray asked while taking a seat by Kana. Naruto sighed. Kana, this is Gray Fullbuster, and Gray, this is Kana Alberona. And while I'm at it, Gray. Naruto stopped and shook his head, he didn't have the patience to tell him this time. Nice to meet you, Kana. Gray spoke coolly before looking to Naruto. What is it, Whiskers? Their clothes are gone. Kana yelled before Naruto could even say a thing. Ah, shit. Gray yelled loudly while finally noticing his situation. Naruto held his hands out and used his gravity magic to grab Gray's clothes from across the guild. Then at blinding speeds he threw them in the mage's face, causing him to fall and crash on the floor. Don't go streaking around, girls, you pervert. Naruto scolded, showing a little bit of Urza coming out of him. Speaking of the armor-clad girl, she walked beside her favorite blonde and ruffled his hair. Way to punish Gray for his foolishness. Urza commented before holding a hand out to Kana. Greeting, I'm Urza Scarlet. Anna took the hand and smiled. Kana Alberona. She introduced with a slight hint of nervousness, she wasn't expecting to talk to so many new people yet. Naruto smiled and looked up to Urza. So tell me, Ni-chan, who won the fight? Was it you this time or did Mira get the better of you? The blonde asked, causing Urza to get fire in her eyes. I would have beat her little whore ass into the ground, but… Ni-chan, calm down. Naruto laughed calmly, knowing his surrogate sister's rivalry wasn't a pleasant one at times. Anna just blinked at Urza's shift of mood and noted to herself. Never piss Urza off. My apologies, Naruto, I'm supposed to set a good example for you. Please strike me for my penitence. Urza begged as she bent over to be hit. Naruto sighed and looked over to Gray, leaving Urza in suspense. Gray, can you tell me what happened? The Ice Mage had just finished placing his clothes on and he ran a hand through his hair while he spoke. Flame Brain showed up with some huge-ass egg and said it was a dragon's egg. It distracted Urza and Mira long enough for me and Elfman to pull them apart. Wait, Natsu found a dragon's egg? The blonde mumbled in surprise. How come I didn't see any of this? Bray reclined against a bar counter. I don't know, you must have been busy talking to Kana. The black-haired boy replied smoothly, not really caring much about Natsu's egg. Kana giggled. I can account to Naruto's inability to not notice things when he is talking to someone. The brown-haired girl teased, thinking of their talk earlier about Lisana. Urza smiled and took a seat by Naruto. Regardless of how forgetful Naruto is, the scarlet-haired girl began causing Naruto to slump over in annoyance. Natsu and Lisana ran off to take care of the egg. So we shall see soon what it holds inside. Naruto looked to Urza. Lisana ran off with Natsu. The smallest of the group asked, causing Kana to slightly frown at the tone of his voice. It sounded cracked and depressed. Urza nodded. Of course, they are very close friends. She explained, not picking up on Naruto's reaction. Yeah, Whiskers, it's not very surprising they ran off together, they are always together. Gray replied, not even noticing Naruto's downward look. Anna, however, picked up on Naruto's depression. So she did the best thing she could think of. She jumped off her seat and grabbed Naruto by his hand. Come with me, Naruto. Naruto was pulled out of his seat and looked to Kana, who was busy pulling him out of the guild. Hey Kana, where are we going? The gravity wizard asked. Kana smiled and looked to Naruto. You're my first friend from Fairy Tail. So since I'm new to town, it's your duty to show me around. Kana ordered in a stern voice. Naruto smiled, he knew what the girl was doing. Alright Kana, I'll show you around town. Just follow me. Naruto said as he took the lead. And thanks. Kana nodded and walked beside the MC Kami. Don't mention it, Naruto, it's what friends are for. The card-using wizard replied. Naruto nodded and started to point a few things out as he walked with Kana. He showed her the local magic shop, the best places to eat in town, and even a few of Magnolia's landmarks. During this entire time, Naruto didn't think of Lisana ditching him and leaving with Natsu. Instead, he enjoyed his time with his new friend Kana. And the two were starting to grow closer and closer as the time went by. Speaking of time, the sun was starting to go down, though Naruto and Kana didn't mind. They were busy enjoying each other's company. So tell me, Kana-chan, what do you think of Magnolia and Fairy Tail? Naruto asked with a small grin. Kana placed her hands behind her back and then she looked to the sky. I like it here, it's calm and the people are very nice. What about you? This has been your home longer than me. What do you think? I love this town and I love the guild even more. So I'm gonna keep growing stronger to protect what I love. I won't stop until I'm the ace of Fairy Tail. That is what I live for and that is my goal in life. Naruto declared boldly, sharing his dream with Kana. What is it that you strive for, Kana-chan? Kana didn't have to think long, she knew her goal. It was to find her father, but she wasn't willing to share this knowledge with Naruto yet. Instead, she was going to tell him a lie about being a great wizard, but a voice stopped her. So you want to be Fairy Tail's new ace? Well, that would mean you have to be stronger than me. A voice spoke from behind, one that Naruto easily recognized. Turning around, both children were met with the sight of a tall, muscular man with shoulder-length orange hair that was slicked back. He wore a long, black, high-collared and tattered cloak with shoulder plates, while around his waist is a simple belt. He was also sporting loose-fitting dark pants, complete with an armored waist guard bearing plate similar to the ones on his shoulders, tucked inside simple black boots. Builders? Naruto addressed normally, causing Kana's eyes to widen. You're returning from another job already? Builders nodded and looked over Kana. Yeah, I probably won't be hanging around for long, but tell me, fish cake. Who's the girl you are with, is she your girlfriend? The elder wizard asked in a teasing manner. Naruto rolled his eyes and looked over to Kana, quickly noticing something was wrong with her. Though he chose to ignore that for the moment. No, her name is Kana Alberona. She joined the guild a couple days ago and I'm showing her around town. Well, it's nice to meet you, Kana, I'm Gildert's. The orange-haired father introduced, not even knowing his own daughter was standing before him. Kana nodded and looked down. She didn't have the courage to confront her father about her identity. Soon the trio fell silent and Gildert's made a long sigh. I'm exhausted from all my traveling, so I'm headed home. And fish cake, it's been a while since we sparred. Why don't you meet me outside the town in the forest for a friendly fight? Gildert's proposed, getting excited about testing the blonde's strength. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Sure, I'm down to kick your old ass into the ground. Gildert's threw his head up and started to laugh. Alright, we will see if you can back up your words tomorrow. The Crash Wizard laughed out while he started to walk off. See you kids later. Kana looked to Naruto's with wide eyes. You can't really be thinking about fighting him tomorrow. The female wizard spoke up once Gildert's was gone. Naruto looked over to Kana with a serious gaze. You seem to know Gildert's is a powerful man and you acted rather weird when he was around. So I'd assume he is the person you joined the guild to meet. I'd even go so far as to say you are his daughter. Naruto concluded, causing the girl to drop her jaw. Yep, definitely his daughter. Your magic is almost identical to his. Kana looked down and rubbed her arm. Yeah, he's my 2-chan. Though he doesn't even know I exist. My Ka-chan only told me about him and where to find him before she passed away. Naruto looked down. I'm sorry for your loss, it must have been hard to lose your mother. Kana nodded. Yeah, it hurt. Though in a way you are lucky, you still have your father. And you got to meet your mother and know that she loved you. I've never met my parents before. Gigi-chan told me about my father once before, but I could tell he was lying. Naruto explained in a dry voice, his emotions completely void. I don't know why he would lie, but I didn't, nor do I care now. My family is the guild and that will never change. Kana smiled a little bit at the boy's words. You know, for someone so young you're pretty mature. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Whoever my real parents were must have been level-headed individuals. Though I don't care to know who they are, so could you keep what I said between us? Of course, Naruto, my lips are sealed. The brown-haired girl promised. Naruto bowed in gratitude. Thank you, Kana, but speaking of parents. Are you going to tell Gildert's the truth about who you are? If you want, I can be there to support you when you do it. Kana brought the blonde into a hug and started to tear up. You would really do that for me? Naruto chuckled as he felt the girl squeeze harder. Yeah, we are friends after all. I just hope you don't get mad if I kick your dad's ass tomorrow. Baka. The girl mumbled in a low voice. Thank you. The next day. Gildert stood in a small clearing, his arms were crossed and his emotions were blank. Standing across from him was Naruto, who seemed on edge and ready to fight. Off to the side was Kana and the Master Makarov, the latter of whom wanted to supervise over this bar the moment he heard about it yesterday when Naruto came home. The blonde excitedly proclaimed that he was going to fight Gildert's and win. So the master wanted to watch over the spar and see what would happen. Kana, on the other hand, wanted to come and watch her new friend battle against her father. She had never seen either of the two in action and she was slightly interested to see what would happen. So Naruto, are you ready to begin? Gildert's asked in a calm voice as he slowly cracked his neck. Naruto punched his palm and grinned. Yeah, old man, let's go. Gildert's held his right arm out and made a come at me sign. Naruto, not wanting to waste any time, charged straight towards the S-class wizard. Head on attack. Gildert's mumbled in disappointment as he raised a hand to strike the blonde down. That is something Natsu would do. Naruto smirked and electricity danced around his body, then before he could touch Gildert's, his body turned into lighting and phased straight through the Crash Wizard, sending hundreds of volts through his body. What was that? Naruto asked with a snicker, his body reforming a few feet behind Gildert's. Looks like I already got the first hit in. Gildert's held back his laughter and turned his body towards the blonde. Getting a solid hit in and tricking your opponent are two different things. Besides, that didn't even tickle. I thought the great fairy god was better than that. I mean, look, you didn't even move me. Naruto growled and raised his hand up. Oh, I'll move you then. He fired back, using his gravity magic to rip the ground up beneath Gildert's, sending the Crash Mage floating into the air. Gildert smirked and held his hand onto the floating ground. Then by channeling his magic, Gildert's destroyed the floating earth, causing it to rain down at high speeds at Naruto. In response, Naruto held both hands up while showing no emotion, causing the chunks of earth to float midair. Then without a warning he sent everything flying back at Gildert's. Won't work. Gildert's proclaimed, before sweeping his hand to the side and casting his crash magic, resulting in all the rocks and clumps of dirt being blasted into dust. Naruto huffed in annoyance as he watched Gildert's land back onto the ground. He was standing in a crater where dirt and rock used to be, but he didn't take any step forward or backwards. All Naruto managed to do was move the man up and down, and that pissed the blonde off. I'm going to send you flying. Naruto announced, lifting his hand up. Gildertz didn't move, instead his body faintly radiated a white magical cloak of his crash magic. Oh? I'd like to see you try. The elder mage challenged. Naruto gritted his teeth and raised his magical power, causing the dirt and rocks around him and Gildertz both to fly up into the air. Even Naruto's hair seemed to defy gravity, but still the crash mage did not budge. This made Naruto lose his temper and push even more magic into his attempt to move Gildertz. Though it felt like the blonde was lifting something that wasn't there, and this never happened before. Over with Makarov and Kana, the two saw the lines of sweat pouring down Naruto's face. They could easily tell the young mage was training himself. Makarov knew his grandson, and he knew beating Gildertz was his goal. So he could see why Naruto was pushing himself so far. Though he also knew that at his current level, no matter how powerful he was, Naruto stood absolutely no chance against Gildertz. Master, what is going on? Why is Naruto's magic not working against Gildertz? Kana asked the short grandfather while looking towards her new friend with worry. Makarov sighed deeply. Gildertz is using his crash magic to counter Naruto's magic. See, Gildert's magic can destroy any type of magic and structure as long as he can overpower what he is trying to destroy. So as you might be able to see, Gildertz is slowly pumping out his magic and countering the effects of Naruto's gravity magic. So unless Naruto could overpower Gildertz, he cannot touch the man. So basically Naruto is screwed. Kana summarized, her voice laced with sadness for her friend. Makarov narrowed his gaze on his grandson. I wouldn't say that. Naruto has an interesting ability to rise to new levels when against a difficult challenge. If anything, I believe this fight will help Naruto grow tremendously. Kana looked forward with wide eyes. Do you really think so, master? Makarov crossed his arms and watched the fight closely. We will see, Kana-chan, we will see. Back over with the fight, Gildertz was starting to grow bored of how things were going. Are you done yet, Naruto? Cause so far you've shown me next to no improvement. The S-class mage began in disappointment before rising his magical pressure. Looks like it's time to end this. Naruto gritted his teeth and pushed his gravity magic even harder. For a split second his eyes flashed white and Gildertz was slightly moved upwards and back. Though this phenomenon didn't last long as Naruto stopped altogether and started to pant. He was exhausted and getting nowhere with his current method of attack. Gildertz on the other hand was momentarily stunned. He didn't know what actually happened. He just knew that somehow, Naruto summoned up enough magic for a brief second to overwhelm his magic. And that was something Gildertz didn't expect to happen. Impressive. Gildertz mumbled to himself before looking over to Makarov, who signaled him with a nod. Let's see what your real limits are, Naruto. Naruto slightly tensed his body when he noticed Gildertz dash towards him. Without even thinking about it, Naruto raised a hand above his head and summoned a bolt of lightning. Heavenward halberd. Naruto cried out as he tossed a spear of lightning magic right at Gildertz. Pivoting his foot, Gildertz slid across the dirt and held one hand forward. Then with his crash magic, he easily dispatched Naruto's lightning. As he continued to slide, he prepared his other hand behind his back for a devastating punch. End of the line, Naruto. Gildertz called out as he prepared to finish the fight in one punch. Time seemed to slow down for Naruto and everyone watching. Kana looked towards her father and newly found friend, not wanting harm to be brought to the latter. Makarov watched with anticipation to see what his grandson would do. He knew Gildertz never held back. Though he was very confident he wouldn't hurt his grandson. Finally there was Naruto, who had his hands held slightly in front of his body. He could attempt to block the punch, but he wasn't physically strong enough to stop a fully grown man. Especially one who was as strong as Gildertz was. Though as all seemed lost and Naruto was about to accept his fate, something clicked inside of him. He didn't know where it came from or what it was, all he knew was two simple words. Shinra Tensei. Naruto mumbled with power behind his voice and his eye glowing white once more. This was followed by a tremendous force of gravity slamming into Gildertz and sending him rocketing backwards. Though Naruto wasn't done there, he held his right hand forward and reached out towards Gildertz. Anshm Tenon. Naruto called out, causing Gildertz to stop mid-air for a brief second. Before he even knew it, he found himself being forcefully pulled back towards Naruto. Readying himself, Naruto's left fist danced to life with lightning magic. Though it was not the normal yellow lighting like Laxus had taught him. This lightning was a pure white color and it radiated unreal amounts of magic. Enough amounts of magic to even cause Gildertz to sweat. So to save his own skin, he pushed one hand forward and sent a wave of crash magic forward, hoping to force Naruto to move away, but the blonde held his ground and refused to move. Instead he held his hand outward and allowed Gildert's magic to collide with his lighting. The end result was Naruto's lightning slicing through Gildert's crash magic like butter. Makarov saw this shocking phenomenon and could tell Gildertz was in serious trouble. Naruto, that's enough, stop this at once. The grandfather shouted in a commanding tone. Naruto took notice of his grandfather's order and stopped Gilderts in midair. This made the crash wizard hover in the air, while Naruto's lightning sparked a few inches from the man's chest. I'm impressed, Naruto. You really got me there. Gilderts chuckled nervously, he still didn't know what to make of the situation. Though for now he figured why not compliment the blonde on his surprising strength. Naruto's eyes stopped glowing and reverted back to his normal bright sapphire blue color. Thanks, Gilderts, I'm guessing our spar is over then. The blonde droned back, already lowering Gilderts down to his feet. Yeah, I think it's best we leave this one as a tie. The older mage replied, inwardly thinking that wasn't the outcome that was about to happen. Gilderts for the first time almost lost a fight to another mage, and it was a 10-year-old child nonetheless. That's fine. I'll just beat you and become Fairy Tail's ace another day. Naruto replied with a shrug, earning a tick mark from Gilderts. Though after his little display the man didn't argue. Instead the master walked over and ruffled Naruto's hair. I'm proud of you, Naruto, you've grown so strong for someone your age. And you didn't tell me you practiced new gravity and lighting spells. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. The gravity spells were something I just tried for the first time, but I didn't use any new type of lighting magic, Chichi-chan. This time Makarov looked toward Naruto with confusion. Then what was that white lightning you used? It was powerful enough to cancel out Gildert's crash magic, I've never seen anything like it before. Yeah, best don't keep secrets, what was that you did back there? Gilderts chimed in, wanting to know the answer as well. Naruto looked between the two elder men with confusion. He didn't know what he did and he had no proper answer. Instead he held his hand out and summoned his regular yellow-colored lightning. See, my lighting is its normal color, tell them I don't know what happened, Kana. The master and ace of Fairy Tail looked over to Kana. She seen the exact same thing they did, but she knew the blonde had no clue what happened. Whatever Naruto did earlier, I can tell he had no clue what happened. So I believe it may be something to look into in the future. Kana explained, trying to be honest and take up for her friend at the same time. Makarov nodded, completely agreeing with the girl's words. Yes, Naruto is filled with plenty of surprises, maybe this was just the newest one he had to show. Gilderts smirked and looked down to Naruto. People call me a monster brat, but I can see why you are called a god. I was nowhere near your power level when I was your age. You almost made me go all out. Naruto and Makarov both formed sweat drops on their heads. Though they both knew Gilderts didn't give his all, but they did know if the fight didn't stop when it did, well, Gilderts would have regretted not taking the fight as serious as he should have. Yeah, sure, old man, but since our spar is over, I believe Kana has something she wants to tell you. Naruto revealed, earning Makarov and Gilderts' attention while at the same time making Kana turn red from embarrassment. Oh, what would that be? Gilderts asked the small brown-haired girl. Kana looked towards Naruto for help, and the blonde gave her a warm smile. He silently mouthed the words, you can do this at Kana. Kana stopped and took a hard swallow. I'm Yo. Gilderts raised an eyebrow as he watched the girl struggle to speak. Yes, what are you? Makarov looked between Kana and Naruto, his skin turning pale as he started to read the situation. Thinking to himself, Gilderts was in for a shock if his hunch was correct. I'm Yuara. Kana drifted off and couldn't find the words to reveal the truth. Naruto groaned at his friend's backward behavior, so he decided to take matters in his own hands. Listen here, Scruffy. Naruto spoke up while walking in front of Gilderts and looking the man in the eyes. Scruffy? The man mumbled the name, which was a shot at his rugged beard. She. Naruto pointed a finger at Kana. Is your. He moved his finger towards Gilderts. Daughter. Gilderts' jaw hit the floor and Kana's eyes grew wide. The cat was out of the bag and Makarov was smirking on the inside about being right once again. What? The crash wizard yelled in shock, running over to Kana and looking her over. Who is your mother? Rukia. Anko. Robin. No, the eyes are off. Nami. Yoko. Bulma. No, that isn't right either. Olivier. Kashina. How many freaking women have you slept with? Kana yelled out in anger. You know what, I don't care to know. I just wanted to tell you that I exist, I don't expect you to be around or be a father to me. So see you around, Gilderts. Kana then turned on her heel and stomped off, but before she could move more than 2 feet. Gilderts wrapped his arms around her and held her close. Cornelia. Gilderts whispered her mother's name into her ears. Now I can see it as clear as day. You are Cornelia's daughter. Kana started to tremble and tears flowed down her cheeks. Yeah. She mumbled in a weak voice. Gilderts smiled. Cornelia was the only woman I ever loved. She was the only woman I ever married. I was devastated when she left me, but I never knew we had a child. If only I knew, I would have been there for the both of you. It's fine, you don't have to be there for me. Kana replied in a weak voice. Gilderts gripped tightly onto his daughter. Beautiful and stubborn, just like your mother. I promise from here on out I will always be by your side. That's if you will allow me to. Hana turned around and allowed Gilderts to see her tear-filled face. "Of course 2-chan, that's all I want from you, Baka," the girl cried before latching onto her father. Naruto smiled at the father-daughter moment, but he quickly found his grandfather's hand on his shoulder. "Why don't we give them some time alone?" the short man proposed. Naruto nodded and turned away. "Yeah, let's head back to the guild. I'm sure they will catch up to us later," the blonde replied, sending one more happy look at his new friend. Back at Fairy Tail. Natsu was in a panic, he was kicking tables over and spewing fire out of his mouth every chance he got. "Where is it?" the young dragon slayer yelled in anger. Lysandra followed Natsu around the guild and tried to stop the young boy's rampage. "We will find it, Natsu-kun. Just please stop tearing everything apart," the smallest of the takeover siblings begged. Her plea fell on deaf ears, however, as Natsu continued to rampage about the guild, causing many of the weaker members to flee the building. Though the stronger wizards like Mira, Gray and Urza remained. "Will you cool your jets, matchstick?" Gray yelled as he pushed Natsu back and forced a dragon slayer's rage towards himself. "Just what is your problem?" Natsu growled and shoved his forehead into Gray's. "Grrr, you stupid snowman, I bet you were the one that stole my dragon egg," the pink-haired wizard accused. Gray gritted his teeth and started to push Natsu backwards. "I don't have your stupid egg, flame brain," the ice wizard spoke honestly. "Liar. Enough," Urza declared as she pushed the two apart. "Gray didn't steal your egg, Natsu, he's been at the guild all day. So take a deep breath and tell me everything that happened." Mira walked over and crossed her arms. "I bet that idiot ate the egg and doesn't want Lysandra to know." "I did not," Natsu yelled towards Mira. "Why would I eat my dragon?" Mira shrugged her shoulders. "You're an idiot, that's why." Urza glared at her rival and got in her face. "Be polite," the girl ordered in an angered-filled voice. "Oh, and what will you do if I don't tin can?" Mira asked in a challenging tone. "I'll kick your half-dressed ass, you demon bitch," Urza replied, causing the two to lock hands and start to push each other while tossing insults. While this was happening, Natsu turned to Gray and started to accuse him once more. "I don't believe Urza, I know you stole my egg." Gray punched Natsu in the chest. "I didn't steal your stupid egg, moron," the ice mage yelled in anger. "Liar," Natsu shouted while tackling Gray to the ground. Lysandra watched the four wizards duke it out and frowned. None of this fighting was helping anything, but it felt like she was the only one that knew that. If only Naruto was here. The younger girl sighed in depression. He would know what to do. "But I am here," the voice of Naruto replied from behind, making Lysandra jump back in surprise. "Naruto, don't scare me like that," the older girl ordered, while placing a hand on her beating chest. "He's sorry, Lysandra-chan, but why are they at each other's throats this time?" the blonde asked while looking towards his fighting friends. Lysandra looked to Naruto with the look she had when she wanted something from him. "Natsu's egg is missing, could you stop them so we can find it?" Naruto nodded and held his hand out, making the four fairy tail wizards float into the air and away from each other. "That's enough, you four. I swear I'm the youngest, but at the same time the most mature. My apologies, little brother." Urza spoke sincerely to her surrogate brother. "You may punish me for my actions." "Yeah, whatever," Mira grumbled in an annoyed tone. No matter how mad she was at Urza, she could never be mad at Naruto. She and her family owed him a lot after all. "Blame flame brain for this," Gray accused while trying to take another swing at the pink-haired boy. Naruto sighed and made the two float even farther away from each other. "Natsu, Lysandra tells me your egg is missing. So instead of blaming your fellow guild members, why don't you ask them to help you find it?" Natsu pouted and looked away, he hated when Naruto would make sense. "Fine. Can you jerks help me?" Naruto sighed and started to make the Dragon Slayer spin. "Use your manners, Natsu." Urza smiled and gave Natsu a thumbs up. "Good punishment, Naruto." Naruto rolled his eyes and stopped spinning Natsu. Then he opened his mouth to speak, but someone else beat him to the punch. "Everyone calm down, I have the egg." The voice of Elfman spoke from behind the group. Naruto turned around and found Elfman smiling while holding a giant egg. The egg itself was white with blue flame designs. "Elfman, why did you steal Natsu's egg?" Lysandra asked in a disappointed voice. "I didn't mean to cause a panic, but I was afraid you or Natsu would crush the egg in your sleep. So I've been keeping it warm for you guys," the middle child explained honestly. "You can have it back now if you would like." Elfman walked forward, but the giant egg blocked a majority of his eyesight. So he was unable to see the cup laying on the ground in front of his feet. Then before anyone could say a thing, Elfman tripped over the cup and the egg went flying into the air. Everyone's eyes grew wide as they watched the egg descend down onto the ground. Lysandra turned away as she didn't want to watch her egg smash. Naruto on the other hand released his friends from his gravity magic and jumped forward. And with just enough time, Naruto caught the egg in his hand. Oh, as he held it, his hands glowed green followed by small black designs growing out of his hands and onto the egg. What the hell? Naruto mumbled as he almost dropped the egg in surprise. Great save, Naruto. Natsu praised as he snatched the egg out of the blonde's hands, not noticing the new appearance of the egg. Urza eyed the younger mage, she saw what happened, but she didn't know what to make of what she saw. Yeah, good job, Naruto. Elfman stood to his feet and rubbed his head in embarrassment. I'm sorry everyone, I didn't mean to cause so much trouble. The white-haired boy apologized. Asana smiled. It's okay, big brother elf, everything worked out in the end. You were doing what you thought was best. It would appear so. The voice of the master boomed as he walked among the group of young mages. I'm glad Naruto got back from his spar with Gilderts quick enough to save the day. Natsu looked towards Naruto with a hint of jealousy. What? You got to fight Gilderts? That's not fair. I already called dibs on fighting him next, jerk. The Dragon Slayer whined, earning a bonk on his head by Urza. You aren't strong enough to fight Gilderts. The scarlet-haired mage pointed out before looking at the unharmed Naruto, thinking to herself just how strong the young blonde was. Besides, last time you challenged Gilderts to a fight, he hit you so hard that you flew across town. Bray, Lysana and Mira chuckled at Natsu's expense, causing the pink-haired wizard to jerk his head off to the side. Naruto sighed and decided to try and pick his friend's spirit up. Hey, look at it this way, Natsu, you have an awesome dragon's egg. No one else in the guild has a dragon's egg. Naruto pointed out. Natsu smiled at that and opened his mouth to speak. Though just then the egg started to crack and shake. Ah, my dragon is hatching. The young boy shouted. Everyone leaned in closer and watched the egg glow bright. Then before they knew it, the egg shattered into dust. Leaving nothing besides a small blue cat in Natsu's hands. Gray started to snicker at his rival's expense while Urza brought a hand to her chin and cocked her head to the side. Mira and Lysana grew hearts in their eyes as they looked down at the small baby cat. Natsu just stared down at the small ball of fluff in his hands. He was disappointed it wasn't a dragon, though he couldn't help but look down lovingly at the cat in his hands. Naruto and Makarov looked at this cat with a different point of view. They knew cats didn't lay eggs, so there had to be something going on that they didn't know about. Nice dragon flame brain. Gray laughed in a low voice, taking a shot at his rival's new cat. Screw you, Gray. The fire wizard yelled in response, holding his cat tightly. Happy is better than any dragon. Well, besides Igneal. Happy? Lysana asked with a small giggle. You are naming him Happy? Natsu nodded with a goofy grin. Aye, sir. Aye, sir. The small cat mimicked, causing everyone to go silent in shock. Did that cat just talk? Naruto asked, hoping he wasn't going crazy. Yeah, I think it did. Urza replied, not believing what her own ears heard. Makarov folded his arms and looked the cat over, it was a complete mystery. Though so was his own grandson, and Naruto was harmless enough. I don't know what kind of cat little Happy is, but I'm sure he will fit perfectly into our guild. 4 years later, X 782. It has been 4 years since Happy was hatched, and Naruto had fought Gilderts. Over that time, the guild discovered that not only could Happy talk like a normal human, but the blue cat could also use magic and grow wings for flight. A feat that was very useful for Natsu, as he would have Happy carry him through the air, allowing the Dragon Slayer to fly high into the sky with his partner. Also during the past 4 years, Kana and Gilderts grew increasingly close. Finally, they were able to have the father and daughter relationship which Kana yearned for so badly. Not only did Gilderts become a good father towards Kana, he also became her teacher as he taught her how to use his crash magic, making Kana one of the guild's most powerful members. Speaking of members, over the last 4 years Fairytail had gained dozens of new members. Some of the more notable ones would be Levi McGarden, Jet, Droy and a mysterious boy by the name Mystigan. The masked boy was even able to become an official S-class mage. That's of course after Urza, Mira and Kana had already joined their ranks, leaving other mages like Gray, Natsu, Elfman and even Naruto as regular wizards. Of course the only reason Naruto wasn't S-class was because of his grandfather. He felt letting his grandson compete would be unfair for some of the other members, so after he asked Naruto to sit out, the blonde agreed to not take the exams until he was 16. Then he would defeat anyone that got in his way. Though for now, Naruto was happy with life. Over the past 4 years he has only gotten stronger and has already completed multiple S-class jobs by helping Laxus, Urza and Kana. In fact, many started to wonder why the blonde wasn't S-class, considering no one knew of his and Makarov's deal. However, the biggest change for Naruto over the last 4 years wasn't his magic. It was his feeling towards Lysana that changed. He no longer had a silly crush towards his best friend. Instead, he was completely in love with her, doing everything he could to earn her love. Which explains why the Imsei Kami was seated at a table alone. His eyes and focus towards the beautiful girl with short white hair talking to her older sister. Over the years Naruto had grown quite well, no longer was he a small child. Now he was a confident 14-year-old who was slowly working his way towards manhood. Already the teenager was taller than his grandfather, as his height was only a few inches under 6 feet tall. Though his height wasn't the only change that Naruto underwent. He completely discarded all his baby fat and traded it in for lean muscle. His hair had become medium length, wavy and spiked while being a light blonde color like his mother's, and the black stake across his hair slowly receded away. Naruto also found an old picture of his grandfather's father, Makarov Dreyar. In honor of the man, the boy modeled his appearance after him. So he donned a black turtleneck, over the top of which he wore a leather jacket with a folded fur-trimmed collar and breast pockets on both sides. He also wore simple black pants and matching black shoes. "Are you going to look at her all day?" a female voice asked in irritation. "Or are you going to finally tell her how you feel?" Naruto looked up to see one of the two girls he saw as an older sister, Kana Clive. She had grown over years as well and filled out nicely into her young female body. She wore a black tank top with a small leather jacket that left her abdomen exposed. She also sported tight capri pants and black high-heel shoes. "Oh hey Ni-chan." Naruto replied in an offhand tone before shifting his attention back to Lisana. Hana grew a tick mark and took a seat by Naruto. "Don't play me off like that," the eldest warned while digging her knuckles into Naruto's head. "When your big sister comes to give relationship advice, you take it." Naruto rubbed his head. Alright, you have my attention Ni-chan." Hana smirked in victory. "Good, now here is my idea. Since my little brother is too much of a wimp to confess in person, write her a letter and give it to her. She can read it in private and give you a response later." "But what? "No buts mister." Kana cut in sharply. "Do as your big sister says. Besides, when have I ever steered you wrong?" Naruto held his fingers up. "Well, there was that time you convinced me to take some of Gigi-chan's alcohol. Then the time you convinced me to steal Mira's panties because you said you left yours in her room by accident. I thought either her or Lisana-chan were gonna kill me. Then there was." "Okay, you proved your point." The elder mage deadpanned. "But this time I'm right and not trying to prank you." Naruto sighed in defeat. "Fine, I'll give it a try, and if this is another prank I will stuff itching powder down all your clothes again." Hana growled with fire in her eyes. "That was you bastard, I thought it was Natsu and Happy." Naruto gulped and rubbed that back of his head. "Well, I done goofed." The blonde chuckled in a nervous voice. Hana started to radiate white magical pressure as she cracked her knuckles. "Oh yes, you sure did," she replied before taking a swing at Naruto's head. Quickly dodging and running towards the door, Naruto called out for forgiveness. "Please don't kill me Ni-chan, I'm sorry." "Too late asshole." Kana shouted while chasing the blonde down. As the two ran out the guild they pasted Mira and Lisana. Both girls just sighed and shook their heads, knowing neither Naruto nor Kana would ever change. With Makarov, at the meeting of Wizard Saints. Currently Makarov was away from the guild, he was off on important business. Said business was meeting with the other 8 members of the Wizard Saints, in hopes of finding a 10th member. The 9 most powerful men in Fiori were gathered together at a large round table. In the center of the table was the emblem of the Wizard Saints. Starting off with the weakest member, his name was Juranikas, or more commonly known as Iron Rock Jura, the ace of Lamia scale. He was a tall and massive man with a heavily muscular figure, distinguished by his bald head. His chest was bare, being only covered by a series of dark belts crossing diagonally and around his neck. He donned a short mantle covered in horizontal blue and white stripes and sporting edges decorated by numerous short yellow strings hanging from it. On his arms were tight-fitting green armbands almost reaching up to his shoulders. Around his waist there was a long loincloth, held up by a simple belt and sporting a motif composed of several arcs. The next member was Oze Porla, the current guildmaster of Phantom Lord. Oze was a tall, slim man with long, straight black hair reaching down to his shoulders and a thin mustache. He had a long and sharp face, vaguely pointed ears, prominent eyelashes and dark-colored lips. His attire consisting of a flamboyant coat with a high collar that sported a jagged mantle and jagged lower edges, as well as intricately decorated borders and inners featuring 2 prominent wings similar to a bat's, with a matching witch-like hat bearing Phantom Lord symbol, complete with an extremely long bent top hanging down on Oze's left. A plain shirt which sported his Wizard Saint's medallion around the neck, with 2 light ribbons falling down from it, paired with long socks, and a pair of pointed shoes each bearing 2 furry balls, one on the front and one on the back of the foot. While donning this attire, his left hand's fingers were adorned by a pair of rings, with one of them sporting a spherical gem. After Oze there was the youngest of the group, a teenager by the allies Seagrain. His real name was Jelil Fernades, but no one besides a select few who worked beside him knew his true name. His most prominent features were his spiky long blue hair and the red tattoo under his right eye. He dressed himself in elegant yet simple robes, consisting of a long white frock coat with black stripes across the edges and on the upper part of the arms, a decorated standing collar, large straps connected to decorated buckles, closing the inducement on the front over a dark shirt, and matching pants and shoes. Finishing his attire off with his wizard saint medallion around his neck. Next was Naruto's adoptive grandfather and master of fairy tale, Makarov Dreyar. He was dressed in his formal attire, wearing a white tunic with the fairy tale symbol on the left collar and black pants, all in which was covered by a formal white coat with white fur around the edges and with the wizard saint's emblem proudly placed on his back. And after Makarov came the man ranked as the fifth most powerful man in Fiori, Hideki Fujikawa. A man who wasn't as well known as the previous members mentioned before him, but he was incredibly powerful regardless. Hideki was a tall muscular man with shoulder-length black hair that was slicked back to reveal his pale white face. His attire consisted of a long dark green leather overcoat and matching pants and boots. His shoulders, knees and wrists all sported a gold-plated armor covering over his clothing. On his chest he had his wizard saint medallion hanging loosely down his neck. Finally he had a long golden spear gripped tightly in his right hand. Makarov always got chills down his spine when he looked at the man. For some reason the short master didn't trust the man. Though moving away from Hideki and towards the four gods of Ishkur. The first one to look at was the weakest of the four, Warod Sequin. Warod was an incredibly old individual as he was one of the founding members of Fairy Tail. He was an old friend of Mavis and Makarov's father Yuri. His appearance resembled that of an aged tree trunk and his hair seemed to be replaced by a leafy treetop. Warod was dressed in a high-collared kimono tied together with a belt, loose trousers, a coat and a pair of boots. After Warod was the third strongest Wolfheim, who was a very short older man who sports a long beard. He was dressed in a dark-colored shirt, a light-colored vest with large buttons and stripes towards the bottom of it. For pants he wore dark slacks decorated with diamond shapes and on his head he wore a large hat, glasses, and a gemstone earring. Seated beside Wolfheim was a man by the name Hyberian. He was an older gentleman with clean-cut dark hair, a well-groomed mustache, pointy ears, and a tattoo on his forehead that is reminiscent of a cross. He was wearing a button-up dress shirt, a lightly decorated vest, dark-colored slacks, and a bow tie. He covers his ensemble with a dark-colored cape that sports light-colored crosses towards the midline. He also wears a large ring on his middle finger. All the while elegantly sipping wine from a large chalice. Finally sitting at the largest chair at the table was the strongest man in Fiori, God Serena. He appeared to be a middle-aged man with medium-length wavy and spiked light-colored hair that juts out at the top in a shape similar to rabbit ears. He has thick eyebrows and bears a scar over the bridge of his nose. He was garbed in a very well-decorated high-collared white kimono with golden designs covering his entire outfit. So now that everyone is here, let's get down to business. God Serena spoke loud and commanding. The Magic Council has been on my ass to find a 10th member to bring the Wizard Saints back at full strength. Wolfheim snorted. And are we not enough? The short man asked, his temper was on a very short fuse. Oh, don't be like that, Wolfie, the council is just worried about looking powerful towards the other countries. Warod pointing out while using his nickname for Wolfheim. Wolfheim's eyes changed into beast-like pupils, showing he possessed some form of takeover magic. A magic he was on the verge of using. Don't call me that, Warod. The short man warned. The plant-using wizard laughed. I didn't call you anything, Wolfie. The man replied innocently. Wolfheim started to radiate magical pressure and anger. Warod looked towards the man with a sudden serious face and matched his magical pressure. Would you two fools stop bickering, we have important things to discuss. Hyberian spoke up, breaking the tension between the two. You can fight after this meeting, but right now you are wasting my time. Both men dropped their magical power and caused everyone from Makarov to Jura to take a deep breath. Even though they were wizard saints, the four gods of Ishkur were on a completely different level. Well, I'm glad that is settled. God Serena spoke in a monotone voice before looking to Makarov. Did you convince Gildert's Clive in joining as our new member? Makarov cleared his throat as all the attention was thrown towards himself. I tried to convince him, but I had no success. The master explained in a disappointed tone. Odd, Serena nodded. That is unfortunate, but does anyone have any recommendations for a 10th member? The room remained momentarily silent, no one spoke a word. However, the newest of the saints decided to voice his opinion. I would like to nominate Makarov Dono's grandson Laxus Dreyar. Jura spoke up, earning eyes on him and a glare from Jose. The boy shows a lot of potential, and as a relative of Makarov Dono is bound to have great strength. Ah. Another fairy tale nominee? I'll pass. Jose replied, showing his hatred for fairy tale. Borod gave a warm smile towards Jura. I believe Laxus would be a great addition. He isn't exactly my first pick, but still a great one at that. My vote is yes. Well, in that case I'm voting with Oze, 2 fairy tale idiots is enough. Wolfheim declared, his decision made on his anger towards Warad. That makes the vote 2 against 2. God Serena announced to the group. I place my vote in as yes. Iberian took a sip of his wine before speaking. I've heard of the boy's rash nature. No offense Makarov, but unless he does some growing my vote is no. Makarov nodded his head. It's fine, I actually agree with your statement. I vote no as well. This surprised many of the men inside the room, most would think Makarov would vote yes. Not only was it his own grandson, but it was a chance to bring another wizard saint into fairy tale. Well, if Makarov is voting no, then I will as well. Seagrain revealed, completely ruining Laxus's chance of being a wizard saint. Borad frowned, but shrugged his shoulders. Oh well, can't win them all, but I believe my candidate has a better chance of joining our ranks. The plant mage explained cryptically before speaking with some power behind his voice. I nominate Naruto Dreyar. Hell no. Oze cried in anger. What is with all these fairy tale nominations? First there was Gildert's last meeting and now both of Makarov's brats. Why not offer the position to one of my mages? Because Makarov's brats, as you call them, and Gildert's are stronger than any mage in your guild. God Serena spoke up, making Oze retreat back into his seat. In fact, comparing those 3 to one of your mages, well, it would be like comparing my strength to yours. In other words, I vote yes with Warad. Wolfheim glared at Warad with anger. Still not voting with this bastard. So no. Iberian shook his chalice around, disappointed that he was out of wine. The boy is too young and foolish. The only reason someone young like Seagrain is here is because he was mature enough to earn a seat on the Magic Council. So my vote is another no. Jura crossed his arms over his chest. Young or not, that boy is remarkably strong for his age. I believe in the years under the proper guidance he could become something beyond comprehension. So I place my vote in as a yes. Makarov opened his mouth to speak, but he was cut off. If I may speak, I didn't get to vote last time. Hideki began slowly, earning all attention on himself. I believe the recommendation for the 10th member of our ranks as Naruto Dreyar is a wonderful choice. I've followed the boy's achievements recently and I'm impressed by his skill. So that is 4 people for Naruto Dreyar and 3 against him. Seagrain, Makarov, what is your answers? God Serena asked, hoping a yes could be met so he could leave. I vote no. Makarov declared, shocking the room once more. Neither of my grandchildren are ready to join the ranks of the wizard saints. Laxus for the way he behaves, while Naruto just hasn't had enough time to grow into the proper wizard I want him to be. Well. Seagrain spoke in a calm voice. I vote yes. Odd, Serena nodded. That settles things, Naruto Dreyar will be offered the position to join the wizard saints. Absolutely not. Makarov shouted in anger. I've said it already, Naruto isn't ready for such a responsibility. It's too late, Makarov, don't know the vote has been made. If you don't approach the boy about the offer, one of us will. Hideki explained, showing the way everyone else besides a few felt on the subject. Actually, I have a solution to Makarov's problem. Warad spoke up towards the group. We will write Naruto's name down as our unofficial member, that will keep the Magic Council off our backs. That's if you don't say anything, Seagrain. My lips will be sealed. The blue-haired teen replied in a calm voice. But then I will take young Naruto-kun for 2 years and train him. By the time I am done with him, he shall be plenty strong enough to join our ranks. Warad finished before allowing the idea he gave to sink in. Actually, I remember last time me and Makarov Dono spoke. He explained his grandson was looking for a teacher who could show him earth magic. So I would like to take Naruto for a year as well and show him my magic. Jura revealed, causing Warad to nod. That's acceptable, I'll take him for a year and then you can have him. The plant-like man agreed. What do the rest of you say? God Serena folded his hands over the table. The yes has already been made. Right now the only person who has to agree to this is Naruto and Makarov. So what do you say? Makarov closed his eyes and reclined back. Knowing my grandson, he would quickly agree to these terms. And as his grandfather, I shouldn't hold him back. I will agree to Warad-sama's idea. But then our meeting is concluded. God Serena announced to the group. Warad smiled in victory while Wolfheim, Oze, Hiberian, Seagrain, Hideki and God Seagrain disappeared, showing they were all nothing but thought projections. However, Jura, Makarov and Warad stayed behind. They had some talking to do. So now that the crowd is gone, let's talk for real, Makarov. Warad began in a serious voice. Makarov looked between the 2 men and sighed. You planned this, didn't you? The short guildmaster grumbled. Jura nodded. I'm sorry we didn't tell you, friend, but Warad-sama said you wouldn't agree. Got that right. Makarov mumbled while looking off to the side. Makarov, I need to know something before I train Naruto. Warad explained in a serious voice. How is he the son of my dead friend Mavis? Makarov and Jura's eyes grew wide. Both of them were shocked for much different reasons. They really did have some serious talking to do. Let's start with when I first found Naruto. Makarov began as he started his story of Naruto's origin. With Naruto. Naruto was walking with Kana towards the backyard of the guild. He held a small freshly written letter in his hands while he sported a large lump on his head. "Ni-chan, did you really have to hit me so hard?" The younger of the two whined as he rubbed his head. Kana glared at Naruto. "You're lucky I'm still helping you," she replied before dramatically pushing her hair to the side. "Just shows what a great big sister I am." "Yeah, don't go around tooting your own horn," the blonde mumbled while looking off to the side. Kana growled and whacked Naruto over the head, causing the blonde to almost fall over. "What was that?" the girl asked, challenging him to say something stupid. "My Ni-chan is the best," the blonde replied with fake enthusiasm. Kana crossed her arms and spotted Lisanna in the distance. She was standing under a tree and giving Natsu and Happy a talking to. "Well, if you're done being an ass, your little girlfriend is right over there." "She is not my girlfriend," Naruto deadpanned. Kana giggled and started to push Naruto towards his crush. "Not yet, she isn't, after all, who could resist my little brother?" Naruto saw Lisanna giggling happily while looking down at Natsu. The latter of whom wasn't even giving her attention. "I don't know if I should do this, Ni-chan," the blonde began, his nervousness taking over. "So many things could go wrong and ... Quit being such a baby," Kana ordered while pushing her surrogate brother forward. "Just go over there and be yourself. She won't even know what the letter is about until she reads it later anyway." Naruto turned around to face his sister. "I guess you are Kana, where did you go?" the blonde mumbled while scanning the area for the brunette. After a moment he found her hidden off to the side behind a tree. Once she noticed she was spotted, she made a go-ahead sign with her hand. Though Naruto remained still, causing her to groan. "Hey, Lisanna," Kana yelled out before hiding away. Her attention being grabbed away from Natsu, Lisanna looked over and noticed her best friend. This of course caused her to smile and wave the blonde over. "Hey Naruto, haven't seen you since Kana chased you out of the guild." Naruto walked over towards the group and rubbed his head in embarrassment. "Oh, you saw that?" the blonde laughed out. Lisanna giggled. "Yeah, I did, I swear you two will never change. You both always fight about something, you'll never get a girl to like you that way," the girl teased playfully. Naruto let out a fake laugh. "Yeah, I guess you're right about that." Natsu raised an eyebrow, he knew Naruto's laugh, and that one he used was clearly fake. Though he decided to keep that bit of information to himself. "Hey Naruto, what's in that envelope?" Happy asked while floating on Naruto's head. "Is it fish for me?" Naruto's groaned, everything was always about fish with Happy. "No Happy, it's a letter," Naruto explained while holding it up for the cat to see. "A fish wouldn't be able to fit inside." Happy pouted at the blonde's response, he really wanted a fish. Natsu on the other hand moved up on his feet and took interest in the letter. "It looks blank, who is the letter from?" Natsu asked. Lisanna laughed and snatched it out of Naruto's hands. "I bet Naruto's got a secret girlfriend he isn't telling us about," the girl theorized before acting like she was upset. "And to imagine you wouldn't even tell me about her." Naruto sighed in exhaustion, he didn't even try to take the letter back. It was for Lisanna to have after all. "I don't have a girlfriend, Lisanna," the blonde explained. "Ah, don't be like that, Naruto, I know it must be hard talking about girls with me. After all, I know how you feel about me." Lisanna began, causing Naruto to go tense. "We are like brother and sister, but since we really are not related, it must be hard for you to talk about these things with me. Just know I'm here to help you, we are best friends after all." Naruto looked down in depression. "Yeah, I guess I should be more open with you regarding my feelings," the blonde admitted. "Though that letter isn't for anyone else, but for you." Lisanna was actually surprised, who would send her a letter? "If you don't mind me asking who sent this letter?" the girl asked, her hand slowly opening the envelope. "Stop, don't open it yet," Naruto instructed, cashing Lisanna to stop. "Like I said, the letter is for you and only you. So I would assume you should read it in private." Lisanna nodded and tucked the letter away, but her question still wasn't answered. She didn't know that the letter was from Naruto, though Natsu on the other hand was starting to get an idea. Before any of the three could speak, the voice of Mira called out to her sister. "Lisanna, it's time to go," the eldest sibling yelled out. "This beast isn't going to sit by and wait for us to take care of it." Elfman pumped his fist in the air. "Yeah, little sis, let's go be men." Naruto frowned. "You have a mission?" the blonde asked in a disappointed voice because missions usually took a couple days to complete. So Naruto would have to wait for an answer from Lisanna, and that wait would drive him insane. "Yeah, since Mirani is S-class now, she is taking us on an S-rank mission," the white-haired teen explained, causing Naruto to get worry in his eye and Natsu to grow jealous. "What, no fair? Take me too," Natsu cried out childishly. "Sorry Natsu, the only man on this mission will be me," Elfman declared, shutting the dragon slayer down. Natsu growled and jerked his head to the side. Whatever. The pink-haired teen mumbled. Sorry Natsu-kun, I promise I'll do a mission with you another time. Lysana vowed as she walked off, but she was stopped as Naruto grabbed her arm. Please be safe. The blonde mumbled in a weak voice. I've been on enough S-class jobs to know how dangerous they are. I can't imagine something happening to you. Lysana smiled and placed her arms behind her back. Don't worry Naruto, I will be safe. The girl replied, already making her way towards her siblings. Naruto watched the three mages walk off and sighed. He didn't know what to do now. Not only was he going to worry about what Lysana would say about the letter, he also was going to worry about her safety as well. You like her don't you? Natsu spoke up in a low voice, making Naruto tense up. Yeah, more than you or she would know. The blonde admitted honestly. How did you know? It's obvious the way you act around her. Though she seems too oblivious to notice it. Natsu explained, causing Naruto to laugh. That's pretty bold words coming from you Natsu. The blonde joked, trying to hide his feelings. Yeah, maybe that's why it took me so long to figure it out. But now that I know you like her I'm going to help you win her heart. Natsu declared with a cheeky grin. Aye sir, you just have to give her fish. Happy spoke while still perched on Naruto's head. That's not how things work Happy, but thanks for the idea. Though Natsu, with all the time you spend with her I thought you had a thing for Lysana. Naruto admitted, while letting a hint of jealousy shine through. What, me and Lysana? Hell no, I don't like her like that. And now that I know how you feel, me and her will never be a thing. Natsu replied, giving Naruto a sense of relief. But let me guess, that letter was from you? Naruto nodded. Yeah, it was. Ana made her presence known and placed Naruto in a headlock. And you have your big sister to thank for such a wonderful idea. Natsu smiled as he noticed Kana. Oh hey Kana, heard any news on your father? The pink-haired teen asked, his mind quickly placed somewhere else. I wanna fight him already, I mean he has been gone for a whole year. Ana looked down, she and Gilderts were finally acting like father and daughter, though when he left a year ago it felt like he was out of her life once more. I talked to him a month ago, he hasn't made any progress on his 100-year quest. To be honest I'm just glad he is still alive. No one has ever lived through the mission he underwent. He will be back before you know it sis. Naruto spoke softly, trying his best to comfort his sister. Aye sir, Gilderts is super strong, there isn't anything he can't do. Happy chimed in before growing wings and floating into the sky. Yeah, he has to come back soon so I can fight him. Natsu chuckled loudly, punching his palm with a flaming fist to show his point. Ana smiled at the comfort her friends gave her. Even though her father was gone she wasn't without family. Thank you guys. Naruto and Natsu smiled an identical wide smile. He don't mention it. The two boys spoke in unison. Ana was surprised, she didn't notice how similar the two boys were until now. Their smiles, facial features, and even the way they talked. It was almost like they had some kind of relation to one another. Hey Naruto my boy, we need to talk. The voice of the master yelled out, breaking Kana from her thoughts. Naruto looked over to his grandfather and raised an eyebrow. Is you meeting over already Gramps? The blonde asked. Makarov nodded and signaled for Naruto to follow him before walking back into the guild. Looks like you have to go. Kana pointed out. Naruto chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. Yeah, Gigi-chan seems serious, I better not keep him waiting. The gravity mage replied before running off. Catch you guys later. Ana, Natsu and Happy waved goodbye to their friend and watched him run into the guild. Hey Natsu, wanna get a drink? Kana asked as she now had no one to spend time with. I bet you're a lightweight like Naruto. No way. I can't outdrink that bastard easy. The fire dragon slayer declared. Ain't that right Happy? Well you haven't beat Naruto in anything yet. The blue cat pointed out, causing Natsu to fall on his face and Kana to laugh. Back with Naruto inside the guild, the blonde wizard was currently walking into his grandfather's office. Once he entered the interior he was not only greeted by his grandfather but two other individuals as well. Being struck with confusion Naruto raised his eyebrow. What did you want to talk about Gigi-chan? And what is Warad Sequin and Juranikas doing here? The blonde asked, easily recognizing the two powerful men. Makarov held his hand out. Please take a seat and I'll explain. Naruto complied and took a seat between Jura and Warad. As he took his seat he noticed their bodies flicker, signaling they were thought projections. Warad couldn't help to look at Naruto with a hint of nostalgia. He dressed like his old friend Yuri, but everything from his light blonde hair color and features screamed Mavis. It's a pleasure to meet you Naruto-san. Warad greeted. Likewise. Naruto replied with respect. It's an honor to meet a founding member of my guild. I would also like to say what a pleasure it is to meet the famous Msei Kami of Fairy Tail. Jura spoke up, extending his own greeting. Naruto nodded with a smile. I'm flattered that you've heard of me Iron Rock Jura. Like I told Warad, it's an honor. Jura cracked a grin and looked to Makarov. Quite the polite and humble grandson you have here, Makarov. Jura praised while keeping the fact he knew Naruto's true lineage a secret. The master made both men swear to keep what they learned to themselves. Yes, he makes this old fool very proud, but let's get down to business. Makarov proposed, his features turning serious. Naruto, some interesting events have unfolded in the last hour. All of which involve you. What do you mean involve me? Naruto asked with confusion. He knew his grandfather had a meeting with the wizard saints, and he knew he was currently in a room with 3 wizard saints. It's simple really. Warad began as he folded his hands over his lap. You've been selected to be the 10th member of the wizard saints. Naruto's eyes grew wide, the news making him stand on his feet and slam his hands on his grandfather's desk. Are you serious? The blonde shouted in surprise. Do you really think I'm ready for something like this? Hell, I'm not even S-class yet. Makarov held his hand up, causing Naruto to take his seat. Now you know just as well as I do that you could be S-class. Though being a wizard saint is something on a completely different level. That's why Warad and Jura are here. Naruto looked between the two men. Okay, so why are they here? The blonde asked quickly. Jura cleared his throat. We offered to train you and evaluate you as a possible member of our order. The tall bold wizard explained. So we came to see if you would accept our offer. Naruto was surprised, being a wizard saint was a tremendous honor. And being offered to be personally trained by 2 of their members was unheard of. I don't know what to say. The blonde admitted, too stunned to think of a proper answer. Well, if you say yes, I would take you away for a year to train. Then I would send you to Jura for another year of training. Which will end with you being evaluated as a possible member of the wizard saints. Warad explained, lying about the last part as technically all Naruto would have to do is agree to become a wizard saint, but the blonde didn't know that. Naruto looked down, that was 2 whole years away from his friends and the people he loved. People like Lisanna, and the blonde wondered if he could take that kind of commitment. Sure, on one side Lisanna could reject him, then a 2-year training trip would be perfect. Though on the other hand, what if she returned his feelings? Would Naruto pass up such a big opportunity for a girl? I don't know about this. I'd miss everyone in the guild so much. Naruto admitted honestly. Jura nodded. That's understandable, but we are offering you a chance to grow stronger. That way you can always protect the guild and all the people that you love inside it. Naruto nodded as his point made sense. Makarov on the other hand looked lovingly towards his grandson. Naruto, even though I would miss you terribly, if you truly wish to become the guild's strongest, an opportunity like this could help you reach that goal. I'm sure all your friends would understand why you would leave. Of course you cannot tell them about you being offered the position of a wizard saint. We have to keep that on the down low for now. Naruto nodded and started to think to himself, he was staring to think about taking the offer. You know Naruto, you remind me of an old friend. Warad spoke up, grabbing Naruto's attention and making Makarov and Jura turn pale. My friend would do anything for the friend she cherished. I have the feeling that you would do the same. Naruto nodded. Of course I would. The blonde spoke without hesitation. That's why you should take the offer. There is a lot of dangers out in the world and your friends and guild will need your power to survive. Warad explained, leaving all the information he knew of Mavis out, making the other 2 men sigh in relief. Naruto looked to his hands and clenched them into fists. He was already one of the guild's strongest, but he wasn't the strongest. Now he was given the opportunity to become the strongest and he was going to take it. Alright Warad-sensei and Jura-sensei, I'll agree to your offer. Naruto revealed, causing both men to smile. When will my training begin? Excellent, I will arrive at Magnolia in 1 week to take you away. My advice would be to go say your goodbyes and pack your belongings. Warad instructed before disappearing. I will take my leave then as well. I look forward to teaching you some earth magic, Naruto. Jura said before he disappeared as well. Naruto looked to his grandfather, now the 2 were alone and they could talk more freely. Do you really want me to leave, Gramps? Makarov shook his head. I don't want for any of my children to leave the guild. But it's not like you will be gone forever. It will be hard to be away from you, but I know this is for the best. The aged wizard explained before standing up and walking over to Naruto. You've made me the proudest grandfather for 14 years. I know you will continue to do so in the future. Naruto smiled and brought his short grandfather into a hug. His words causing a small tear to roll out of his eyes. I promise Jiji-chan, I'll never stop making you proud. Naruto walked slowly out of his grandfather's office with a disheartened expression on his face. Sure, he was going to get the chance of a lifetime, but he was going to miss his friends terribly. Honestly, the blonde didn't know if he had the strength to go 2 years without seeing his loved ones. Though as he approached the guild's bar where Kana was seated by Natsu, he took solace in the idea that this training was to protect those he loved. Everything I'm going to do is for them. Naruto thought to himself as he watched his surrogate sister laugh. Kana, who was busy downing her 8 pint of fairy ale, noticed Naruto out of the corner of her eye. Then while continuing to drink she waved the blonde teen over. Naruto smiled and took a seat by the beautiful brown-haired drunk. You know drinking all that booze isn't good for your health, Ni-chan. The blonde scolded before looking over to Natsu. The pink-haired wizard had his head rested against the bar counter and he looked to be in pain. I mean, just look at Natsu over there. Kana snorted and waved the bartender for another round. Please, I'm getting lectured by Fairy Tail's very own ramen addict. Kana shot back, causing Naruto to rub the back of his head. Besides, I can't help it that Natsu can't hold his liquor. Then again, you aren't the best drinking buddy either. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, cause a 14-year-old should be a hardcore alcoholic. The blonde grumbled sarcastically. Kana shrugged her shoulders. Never know if a job you take will be your last. That's why I live my life to the fullest and do whatever the hell I want. That doesn't mean you have to drink like a fish every chance you get. Naruto pointed out. Try substituting your fairy ale for ramen. You're hopeless, you know that, right? Kana mumbled in an annoyed tone before she started to drink again. Natsu groaned and rubbed his head. Will you both shut up? Everything is so loud and it hurts. The dragon slayer whined to himself, making his little blue partner laugh. Alcohol must not agree well with a dragon slayer. The small cat giggled out. Naruto let a small smile cross his lips. It would seem so, but happy I have a job for you. The payment is 1 whole fish. The blonde revealed, causing Kana to raise her eye in curiosity. I'll do whatever you ask for a fish. Happy agreed with vigor, not even knowing what the request was. Alright, go find Urzani and Gray for me. Then bring them here. Naruto instructed. Aye, sir. Happy saluted before flying off. So Naruto, what's that all about? Kana asked, already picking up on her brother's odd behavior. Did something happen while you talked with the old man? Naruto folded his hands over the guild's bar and nodded. Yeah, but let's wait till everyone is here before going into detail. Kana seemed to accept the answer and waited for Happy to return. Natsu seemed to finally recover from his headache and like Kana decided to wait as well. He was also quite interested in what Naruto had to say. Eventually the small blue cat flew back over with Gray and Urza lagging behind. Naruto, I found them, now give me a fish. Happy spoke quickly as he really wanted a fish. Naruto smiled and tossed a small fish over to the cat. There you go, Happy, you earned it. The blonde chuckled out as he watched the cat devour his favorite food. So Whiskers, what did you want? Gray asked in a calm manner before taking a seat over by Natsu. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Heh, how do I say this? Urza folded her arms and gauged Naruto's behavior. What mischievous actions have you done this time? The scarlet-haired knight asked in an intimidating tone. Naruto tossed his hands up in defense. I didn't do anything, Ni-chan, I promise. The blonde cried out in fear. Urza narrowed her eyes. Well, that's good, but if you haven't done anything bad, what did you want to talk about? Yeah, Naruto spit it out already. Kana added in, as her curiosity was getting the best of her. Naruto sighed and tried to find the correct words. After a moment of thinking he found the words and courage to speak. In a week I'm leaving Fairy Tail. His words were followed with silence, no one knew how to react with the news. It was a bombshell that none of them expected Naruto to drop. What do you mean you're leaving Fairy Tail? Natsu asked in a loud voice. He knew the blonde wasn't taking a job because he wouldn't gather them all up like this if that was the case. What could make you want to leave the guild? Are you not happy here or something? Gray asked right after Natsu, both boys having no idea what Naruto was thinking. Naruto shook his head and looked down. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I love this guild and everyone in it, that's why doing this is so hard. The blonde explained slowly. But I've been given an opportunity that I have to take. So that's the reason I have to leave the guild for a while. Alright, what's this opportunity then? Urza asked with a critical eye. I've been offered to be trained personally by 2 members of the Wizard Saints. Naruto revealed in a calm voice, trying not to make a big deal of the news. What? 2 Wizard Saints? Kana shouted in surprise. It's unheard of for a Wizard Saint to take a student, but you are telling me that 2 of them are going to train you? Naruto nodded and ran a hand through his hair. Yeah, apparently they've heard of my exploits and now have interest in my potential. So they approached Jiji-chan about training me. Natsu looked at his friend with a rare form of seriousness. How long will this training last? 2 years. Naruto replied calmly. 2 years. Kana, Gray, Urza and Natsu all shouted together. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I told you guys it would be a while. The blonde began before tightening his fists and looking down. Trust me, I don't want to leave you guys for so long. Though this is my chance to grow stronger, so I have to go. Everyone looked at Naruto with a sad expression, each one of them cared for the blonde like a younger brother. It would be hard to let him go, though they could see it was even harder for him to leave. I support your choice, little brother. Urza spoke first as she grabbed Naruto's head and slammed it into her chest plate, making a loud thump and almost knocking Naruto out cold. Just be safe and stay out of trouble. Naruto smiled and wrapped his arms around Urza. I promise I will. The blonde mumbled before breaking the hug. Gray stood up, already completely naked, and held his hand up. The guild's gonna be pretty boring around here for 2 years without you. I'm gonna miss all the pranks me and you pull on your sis. Naruto held his hands to Gray's mouth and gave the boy a sickly sweet smile. Gray, don't talk and go put some clothes on. Gray raised an eyebrow and looked at Naruto with confusion. Though as he noticed the two female figures radiating magical pressure from behind, the ice make wizard got the idea real quick. Oh, Naruto. Kana spoke in a way too cheery voice, making Naruto twitch nervously. Remember our little talk earlier? Was there any other accidents that happened to me or Urza caused by you? Urza growled and summoned a sword from her equipped space. Turn around and answer the question, Naruto. The girl demanded. Naruto gulped and turned around, flashing his sister figures a large toothy grin. Whatever happened, I can promise Natsu did it. The blonde accused, pointing a finger at the dragon slayer. What the hell, Naruto? Natsu was silenced as two fists buried into his face and flipped him over the bar counter. Naruto and Gray flashed smiles of relief towards each other, neither believing the lie actually worked. That will show you, Natsu. Kana grumbled as she dusted her hands off by clapping them together. Oh, and Naruto. Yes, Naruto was silenced as Kana placed another fist into his face, sending him over the bar counter with Natsu. You're the worst liar ever. The Crash Wizard shouted in anger. Gray watched the events unfold and started to back away nervously. Though he backed into something metal inside. Turning around, he only got the glimpse of scarlet hair and a fist. Then, like Natsu and Naruto, he went flying over the bar counter, landing on both Naruto and Natsu. Get off me, snowman. Natsu cried out. And Naruto, we are so fighting in 2 years for that. Shut up, flame brain. Gray shouted back in anger. You wanna fight too, asshole? The fire wizard asked. Bring it on. Gray yelled back as the two started to fight on the floor. Why the hell are you still naked? Naruto cried out as he tried to get away from the two teens. Urza and Kana smirked in victory as they got their payback. Well, Kana got her payback, to Urza it was just another punishment. Happy, who had just finished eating his fish, chuckled at the scene unfolding before him. Naruto better watch out. If Lysandra finds out you are letting naked guys crawl on you, she will never love you back. The small cat pointed out carelessly, forgetting Naruto's crush on Lysandra was a secret. Gray and Urza both stopped what they were doing and looked at the blonde with shock. Holy shit, why didn't I see that earlier? Gray spoke with surprise in his voice. You are always spending so much time around her and always look at her really weird. Hey, I do not. Naruto cried as he glared at Gray. Kana sighed and placed a hand on her hip. Yes, you do. The brown-haired teen pointed out, making Naruto slump over. But don't worry, it's a cute weird. That doesn't make me feel any better. Naruto mumbled in a depression-filled tone. Urza crossed her arms and walked over to Naruto. Even though she is that witch's sister, as your sister I approve of your choice in women. Even though my brother is too good for some harpy. The scarlet-haired wizard spoke sincerely, though she mumbled the last part to herself. Natsu walked over to Naruto and placed a hand on his fellow wizard's shoulder. What are you going to do if she doesn't get back before you leave? I don't know, she has the letter I gave her. Though who is to say she will return my feelings? Naruto replied in a sad voice. Urza and Kana both sighed and raised their fists into the air. Then in one swift motion they both knocked Naruto over the head. Don't be so down on yourself. They both scolded. Naruto rubbed his head and pouted. Why are you two always hitting me? The blonde whined out. Kana smirked with a gleam in her eye. Hey, they are fists filled with love. The Crash Wizard replied. Urza nodded and pumped her arm forward. And I have plenty of more love to give out. I think I'll pass. Naruto grumbled in annoyance. Beside, I have to go find Laxus Nai and tell him what is going on. Urza and Kana rolled their eyes at the mention of Laxus. To Naruto, the older blonde was a great brother, but to everyone else he was an ass. Have fun with that. Kana mumbled as she went back to drinking her alcohol. Urza smiled and wrapped the blonde in another hug. After you're done we can go out for strawberry cake and ramen. Naruto smiled and broke the hug. I would like that, Ni-chan. The blonde admitted. Gray walked beside Naruto and held a hand up. I'm gonna head home and chill, don't forget to make some time to hang with me before you leave. The ice wizard instructed. Naruto reached up, gave Gray a high five, followed by the boys bumping their forearms together. You got it, snowman. The blonde chuckled out before Natsu stepped in between them. I'll see you around, Naruto, and don't worry about Lysandra. I'll make sure everything works out, that way you will owe me a fight in 2 years. The pink-haired boy explained, showing his true motive. Naruto sighed and slumped over. Is fighting people all you ever think about? Aye, sir. Happy chimed in before anyone else. Natsu loves to fight. Naruto smiled. Yeah, and you got a deal, Natsu, in 2 years I'll come back to kick your ass. The blonde replied with a cheeky grin. Natsu growled and shook his fist. That's what you think, jerk. I'm gonna train twice as long as you. The pink-haired boy declared. Naruto opened his mouth to point out the Dragon Slayer's flaw, but instead he shook his head and walked off. Alright Natsu, we will see, but I'll talk to you guys later. I have to go track down Laxus Nai. The group of fairies waved the blonde off with warm smiles. Naruto couldn't help to crack a grin as he made his way towards his brother's usual hangout. He had a lot of great people in his life and it made the blonde very happy. I wonder how Laxus Nai will take the news. Naruto mumbled to himself as he walked the streets of Magnolia. Knowing that I'll be growing stronger and that will make the guild stronger, he will probably be all for the idea. Naruto turned down a street corner and approached a small warehouse. This of course was the location to find Laxus when he wasn't on a mission or didn't want to be at Fairy Tail. As Naruto grew closer, he brought one hand up and made a sideways motion, causing the sliding doors of the warehouse to slide open with his gravity magic. The now opened warehouse was revealing nothing besides darkness, however he knew that didn't mean no one was there, as his brother's followers/friends normally placed runes to conceal themselves from others. His suspicions about the runes turned out to be true once he approached the opening and noticed a small outline of purple writing on the ground. Yo Nai-chan, you got a moment? Naruto asked as he walked into the building. Stepping on the other side, Naruto was met with a bright light and 4 figures. The first was sitting on a crate, lazily flipping through a magazine. Her right hand twirling a strand of her brown hair. She wore a revealing green dress with a pattern that resembled vines on it and purple high heels. She also donned a coat somewhat resembling the one Laxus would occasionally wear. This woman was the self-proclaimed strongest woman in Fairy Tail, Evergreen. The next was a tall muscular man, the upper part of his body was covered by a dark cloth which was almost completely plain, with the exception of a pair of lines on his chest. His pants were a matching black and were held up by a belt which bore the Fairy Tail insignia. Finally his face was concealed by the knight-like helmet over his head. This man was Bixlow, another friend of Naruto's brother. Standing in between Evergreen and Bixlow was the leader of the Thunder God tribe, Fried Justine. Fried is a slim man of average height with waist-length light green hair, his bangs were brushed to one side, covering the majority of his face. He wore a knee-length double-breasted coat, which possesses a wide collar, large lighter-colored cuffs decorated by a darker line on the back part, and edges adorned by 2 thin golden lines. Around Fried's waist is a pair of buckled belts, attached to which on his left hip is his sword. Fried's attire is completed by a pair of loose light-colored pants tucked inside simple boots. Finally there was Naruto's older adoptive brother, who was sitting in the far back of the room sporting his trademark coat with a fur trim. What do you want, Naruto? Come to hide from Kana and Urza again? Because if so I'm quite disappointed in you. Laxus began in a monotone voice. You are one of the guild's finest and one of the people who shall be allowed to stay in the guild once I'm master. Naruto sighed and waved his hand to the right, forcing a crate to slide over towards him. Then before the crate could come to a complete stop the blonde jumped onto the crate and took a seat. Show off. Bixlow grumbled. Show off, show off, show off. The floating totems behind Bixlow mimicked. You know Jiji-chan isn't even planning on retiring yet. So I wouldn't go around calling yourself the next master yet. After all, who says he would even pick you as his successor? Naruto asked, making Laxus growl and lightning flash around his body. Just tell me why you are here, Naruto. I know it's not to come here for a pleasant chat, so what's your motives? Laxus asked in a slightly annoyed tone. Naruto crossed his arms and looked down. In a week I'm leaving for 2 years. The blonde revealed. Why? I'm being trained. By who? 2 members of the Wizard Saints, they each will train me for a year at a time. Laxus nodded and rubbed his chin. The 3 members of the Thunder God tribe looked to Laxus and waited to see his reaction. They didn't know what to think, the fact that someone like Naruto got an opportunity to train with 2 wizard saints was unheard of. Well, I can only assume in 2 years you will become quite the mage. This is good, my new fairy tale will need a strong ace, so make sure to grow as powerful as possible. Laxus instructed, making Naruto slightly frown. What? No, I'll miss you, little bro. What happened to my kind big brother? Naruto asked in a joking voice. Evergreen snorted. Laxus kind. Kid, do you even know your brother? He isn't kind, he is the strongest fairy tale mage. The brown-haired girl declared. And I'm the strongest female fairy tale wizard. This time Naruto snorted. Please, Urza-ni, Mira and Kana-ni are 10 times stronger than you. They are the real strongest women of fairy tale. The blonde fired back, causing Bixlow to laugh. Laxus, I forget how much spunk your little brother had. The kid's a freaking riot, ain't that right, babies? Yeah, yeah. The totems chanted. Evergreen glared at Naruto and slightly pushed her glasses down. Don't make me turn you and your little fangirls into stone. Cause if I have to prove myself I will. Evergreen, stop this at once. Freed ordered in a stern tone, making the female flinch. How dare you, threatening Laxasama's little brother. That's a new low even for you. Screw you, Freed. Evergreen shouted back, throwing her magazine at the mage. Will you idiots quit bickering? Laxus asked in an annoyed tone. I'm trying to talk to my brother. Sorry, Laxus. They both yelped together. Naruto crossed his arms and smirked. What's the matter, Nai-chan? You seem extra pissed off today. The younger blonde noted. Laxus gave Naruto a death glare, but once he noticed the blonde wasn't intimidated he sighed. I was going to take an S-class quest, but Mira and her stupid siblings took the last one. So I've been stuck in town all day and I haven't done a single thing. The oldest of the Dreyar boys explained. In fact, when I master weak wizards like Mira, Lysana and Elfman will never take an S-class quest. Naruto frowned at his brother's words. He not only insulted his friends, but he also insulted the woman that Naruto loved. Why are you always so down on everyone? You even treat your own friends like shit. I respect power, and if you're weak I have no need to associate myself with you. Laxus replied harshly. And I will treat people the way I see fit. Naruto growled and jumped off the box, and in a fit of rage, he sent the crate flying into a wall with his gravity magic, making the large piece of wood smash into tiny bits. Well, if you continue down your current road you will never be master. Naruto growled as he started to stomp towards the exit. A real master wouldn't belittle his friends. He would do everything he can to help them. Since you don't care, I guess I'll see you in 2 years, Laxus. Laxus gritted his teeth and watched Naruto leave. He was slowly losing his little brother, and he was too blind by his own ambition to see that. 3 days later. Naruto slowly walked through the streets of Magnolia. His head was throbbing as he had gotten next to no sleep recently, thanks to all the late nights he was having with his friends. Considering after Kana, Urza, Gray, Happy and Natsu learned they didn't have much time left with Naruto before he left, they wanted to really squeeze 2 years' worth of time together in 7 days. This of course took a small toll on Naruto as he has been so busy with his friends. The blonde hadn't once returned home. In fact, Naruto really didn't want to go back home and see his brother. Naruto was quite upset over his older brother's behavior. So until he leaves for his 2-year training trip, Naruto has been rotating between staying with Gray and Natsu. Though currently the fairy god was slowly approaching the doors of the guild. He had stayed the previous night with Gary, and the ice make wizard had left for the guild a few hours before him. So that left Naruto alone as he made his way to the guild. Just a few more days then I'm leaving this place for 2 years. Naruto mumbled to himself as he looked up to the sky and noticed a storm was rolling in. I'm going to miss this place, but I should probably hurry to the guild before the storm hits. Naruto continued towards his guild and noticed the doors were swung wide open. This was odd considering when a storm would be on the way, his grandfather would always keep the doors shut. His curiosity slightly piqued, Naruto walked through the doors, allowing him to see the group of fairy tale wizards huddled in a circle. Scanning the area he spotted his older sister figure, Kana. She was near the edge of the group and she had tears in her eyes. Hanani, what's going on? Naruto spoke loud enough to earn eyes on him. The crowd parted as Kana walked over towards him. Naruto, I'm sorry. She croaked out while holding her arms out. Naruto stood still and let Kana embrace him, his focus placed on Murahin and Elfaman, both of whom were in the middle of the crowd of wizards. Though he couldn't see a certain someone and his heart dropped. Where is she? I don't see her. Naruto asked in a weak voice, though deep down he feared he knew the answer. Where is Lysana? Kana closed her eyes and squeezed the blonde. She's gone, Naruto. The elder wizard sobbed into his ear. Lysana is dead. Naruto zoned out, his whole world crumbling in one instance. He couldn't believe it, his best friend and the woman he loved was dead. 2 days later. It has been 2 days since Elfman and Mira had returned with the grave news of Lysana's death. The event had completely rocked the world of every single member of Fairy Tail, none believing the cheerful 15-year-old was dead. Though not a single person was as heartbroken as Naruto. He had lost not only a dear friend, but someone who he loved. And now he will live his life never knowing if she loved him back. In fact, Naruto was affected by Lysana's death so much that he skipped her funeral. To him they were just burying an empty casket for closure, and he didn't want that. He decided to pay his respects in his own way. So he headed to the place outside Magnolia where he and Lysana used to play. It was peaceful and a good place for Naruto to clear his head. You loved looking at the sunset, but even something so beautiful is empty without you. Naruto mumbled to himself while floating some stones around his hands with his magic. I shouldn't have let you go. Naruto then sent a stone forward with his magic. It hit a tree in the distance and used enough force to send the rock straight through the tree. I could have at least tried to go with you. Naruto sent another stone through the tree. I could have protected you. He shouted in anguish as he sent 3 more rocks forward. Why did you have to die? Naruto asked himself as he let the other rocks fall harmlessly to the ground. Naruto stood in silence for a moment, the only sounds that could be heard was the wind passing through. Though soon he found tears trailing down his face, and he fell to his knees. You shouldn't have even been on that mission. The blonde sobbed as he punched the ground, thinking to himself about what Laxa said the last time they spoke. Does Nai-chan make a good point about members of the guild? Naruto shook his head and rubbed his eyes with his sleeve. Now wasn't the time to think of things like that. He was too emotionally unstable for that. Naruto, are you okay? A male voice called out to the blonde. Naruto recognized the voice and didn't turn around. Instead he stiffened up and finished drying his tears. Hey Elfman. The blonde replied in a soft voice. Elfman gripped his fists, it was common knowledge that he was the reason Lysana died. This was because he failed to accomplish a full-body takeover and ended up killing his baby sister. Though it was even better known that Naruto and Lysana were close friends. We missed you at the funeral. The large white-haired man began. The master said some kind words about her. That was nice of him. Naruto replied in a dry tone. Elfman looked down, he came here to check on Naruto, though he found it hard to speak to the blonde. Listen, I know how close you and Lysana were. She was your best friend and losing her was like losing your own sibling. Elfman quickly got onto his hands and feet. Please, I need you to forgive me for killing her. No one else blames me, but it is my fault she is dead. I need to be held responsible and you are the next best person besides Mirani to hold me responsible. You have it all wrong Elfman, she wasn't just my best friend. I was in love with her. Naruto explained as he turned his head to the white-haired wizard. And I'll never know how she felt about me. That makes the pain sting even worse. Elfman felt a build-up in his throat and the tears started to flow. He didn't even know how deep Naruto's feelings went. Naruto, I'm so ... Just shut up. Naruto cut in sharply. You didn't kill Lysana and she would be pissed at me if I blamed you for her death. Naruto then rose to his feet and walked over to Elfman. Then as he came within inches of the man he held a hand out. Elfman held a hand out to the blonde weakly, but Naruto didn't accept the hand. Instead he pushed his hand against Elfman's chest. I can't blame you, but… Naruto stopped speaking and his eyes glowed white. Then in a fraction of a second, he jerked his hand away from Elfman, forcing a large mass of black magic to come out of Elfman's chest. Then just as quickly as it came out, it shot to the side and started to form into a solid form. One that Elfman thought he wouldn't ever see again. I can blame that beast that took Lysana away from me. The beast unleashed a loud roar, causing Elfman to stumble backwards in fear. Naruto on the other hand remained still and held his ground. Get out of here Elfman, I need some time to vent. Naruto mumbled in a low voice, as a thin layer of white magical power outlined his body. Naruto, forget how you did that, are you crazy? Mira, Lysana and I together were no match for that thing. Don't get yourself killed too. The takeover sibling cried out, but his cries fell on deaf ears. Let's go back to fairytail Elfman. Naruto ordered in a stern voice. Elfman stumbled to his feet, Naruto wasn't listening and he needed to go get help. He wasn't going to let someone else die. So he took off in a sprint towards the guild, hoping the master was around to help. Naruto looked over his shoulder and noticed Elfman quickly running off. Good, he's gone. Naruto mumbled as the beast dropped his arm over top the blonde, trying to smash and kill Naruto. Though without even looking, Naruto lifted his left arm slightly up and stopped the beast with ease. Now I can go all out. The beast unleashed a loud roar and tried to push Naruto down into the ground. Though the blonde smirked as he wouldn't budge. Was this the arm you used to kill Lysana? Naruto asked, as he channeled more gravity magic than he ever had before, using enough force to completely rip the beast's arm off its body. He sent it flying and crashing into the ground. The beast shrieked in pain and held the area where its arm used to reside. Oh, don't worry, I have an interesting ability to heal pretty nasty wounds. So I'm going to tear you to shards and piece you back together just to rip you apart again. Naruto began as his hand sparked to life with lightning. I'm going to make you feel the pain my heart is going through. The beast backed away, it was actually afraid of the approaching blonde-haired wizard. So afraid that it actually turned away and started to run away. Naruto smiled and raised his hand up, making the beast float into the air. Oh, you're not leaving, that I can assure you. The blonde explained, before sending the beast crashing into the ground. Followed by a large bolt of lightning striking its backside. Few minutes earlier at the guild. The atmosphere in the guild was the complete opposite of its daily norm. Kana wasn't drinking, she was too worried about Naruto to do that. Urza was faring similar to Kana, except she decided to sit beside Mira and comfort her longtime rival. Even Gray and Natsu weren't their usual selves, the latter was understandable considering his friendship with Lysana. Though as everyone sat in silence, a loud roar pierced through the silence of the guild. Making Mira's eyes grow wide and place her hands to her ears. No, make it stop. Mira shrieked in terror as flashbacks of Lysana's death went through her head. Though her mind clicked and she searched the guild. Where is Elfman? Urza placed her hands on Mira's shoulders and attempted to calm the wizard down. Shhh, Mira, relax and take a deep breath. If you tell me what got you so upset, I can help. By now the entire guild had their eyes zoned in on Mira as they were all trying to figure out what made the girl so upset. The beast that took over Elfman, I'll never forget the sound it made. I think it has taken over Elfman again. Mira explained as she clutched her head. I can't lose my brother too. Urza scanned the guild and spotted Natsu and Grey over at a table. Grey, has either you or Natsu seen Elfman? The scarlet-haired wizard asked. Sorry Urza, I haven't seen him since the funeral. Grey admitted as he looked down, things just haven't been going good recently. Natsu frowned and punched the table. Same here. Natsu mumbled in a low voice. I can't even smell him. Urza looked around the room and tried to find any sign of the takeover wizard. Though she couldn't spot anything, however, a weak voice managed to grab her attention. I saw Elfman head out towards the forest after the funeral. Levi revealed, earning all eyes on her. But I don't know why he would do that. Anna looked at Levi with dread. Levi, what direction did he leave? Did he head to the forest west of Magnolia? Levi nodded. Yeah, I think so, but why is that important? Everyone looked to Kana, who was rubbing the side of her head. I really need a drink. The crash wizard grumbled. You see, when Naruto wants to be alone, he heads to the forest west of Magnolia to train and think. Over by the wall, Makarov was sitting cross-legged on a crate. Though as he listened to Kana talk about his adopted grandson, he was filled with curiosity. That's why Elfman went towards Naruto. Mira mumbled in a low voice. Lysana and Naruto were friends, and Elfman knows how close they were. He probably wants to speak to Naruto. Anna, Urza, Grey and Natsu all looked down. All knowing the true extent of his feelings. Well, if that's the case, things could get a little more complicated. Grey began as he folded his arms. It all depends what's going through that blonde idiot's head right now. What do you mean, Grey? Mira asked, not understanding the ice wizard's words. It's because Naruto loved Lysana. Natsu answered, making Mira's eyes grow wide. He loved her and she died before he could even tell her. Makarov closed his eyes and lowered his head. My poor Naru-chan, why didn't I notice this before? The aged master asked himself. Mira gripped her fists, a single tear trailing down her cheek. He loved her. The S-class wizard mumbled. The entire guild looked to Mira with surprise, everyone thinking how sorry they were for Naruto. Since it was common to see Naruto and Lysana together in the guild. And it was well known throughout Fairy Tail how close of friends they were. Though now it was revealed that there was something more to that friendship. Anna sighed and walked over to Mira, then by taking a seat by the girl she nodded. Yeah, he did. The brown-haired girl spoke sadly. I always tried to push him into telling her, but he was so backwards. He always feared about losing her friendship. Mira started to sob silently, and Urza and Kana leaned over to comfort her. Though before anything else could happen, the guild's doors swung open, revealing a panting Elfman. Elfman? Mira shouted in relief as she saw her brother. Where is Naruto? Kana asked, as she noticed her surrogate brother wasn't with him. Elfman bent over and pointed a hand behind himself. Naruto. Elfman took a deep breath and recomposed himself. Naruto is fighting the beast by himself. Natsu nearly jumped out of his chair. What? The dragon slayer yelled. I thought its soul was trapped in your body. Elfman opened his mouth to speak, but he was silenced as Kana and Urza went rushing past him. They both lost a friend, and they were not waiting to lose a brother as well. Kana and Urza have the right idea, we can talk later. Right now let's go make sure Naruto is okay. Grey shouted as he followed after the older wizards. Natsu nodded and took off. Come on, Happy. Aye, sir. Makarov sighed and jumped off the crate. He knew how powerful Naruto was, so he knew the blonde would be fine against the beast. However, he was concerned about Naruto having an emotional breakdown. Don't worry, Naru-chan, I'm going to be there for you. The master mumbled in a low voice. His short legs carrying him to where Naruto was. Soon one by one every fairy tale wizard ran out of the guild, leaving only Mira and Elfman. Come on Elfman, we should go as well. That beast won't take anything else from us. Mira mumbled in a weak voice as she walked over to her brother. Elfman was shaking with fear, but he knew his sister was right. You're right, Ni-chan, let's go. With Naruto. Naruto was walking slowly towards the beast. In his right hand was a ball of white fire, while his left hand held a spark of white lightning. The beast itself was a mess, it was covered in blood and was missing both legs and an arm. Though it was still very much alive. Does it hurt? Naruto asked in a dead voice, void of all emotion. Or can an abomination such as yourself feel pain? Naruto placed his hands together over his head and in one swift motion he threw them outwards. Expelling a large stream of fire and lightning at the beast, hitting the monster right in the chest, creating a large hole. War. The beast wailed in anguish. Proud with his work, Naruto held a glowing green hand up. Then within seconds, the hole in the beast's chest disappeared and its limbs grew back, filling the large creature with enough strength to stand once more. Naruto took a deep breath and clutched his chest. He never used this much magic, especially this much of his healing magic, and he didn't know the effects it could have on his body. Though at the moment he didn't care, he just wanted to avenge Lisana. The beast bent down on all fours and stated to run off. Trying its hardest to escape the torture Naruto was placing it through. Haven't you learned? Naruto asked the beast as he lifted the creature into the sky with his magic. You cannot escape me. Naruto then slammed the beast into the ground and walked over beside it. Then by clicking his fingers, a large tornado of wind started to spin around Naruto and the beast. That should discourage you from running away. Now where were we? Outside the twister of wind, Kana and Urza had just arrived on the scene. Both were filled with worry as they noticed the twister of wind, which was obviously Naruto's. Though to make matters worse, neither girl was able to get a glimpse of Naruto or the beast inside the roaring winds. Kana ran over and attempted to dash past the twister, but her body was quickly deflected back. Shit. The brown-haired wizard cursed as she rolled across the dirt. Kana. Urza yelled while running over to look her friend over. Are you alright? Looking up, Kana grumbled something about annoying blondes. Yeah, I'm fine, just a few scrapes, but how are we gonna get to that idiot? Urza lifted Kana to her feet and summoned a sword. Like we always do, by force. Kana sighed and her hand started to glow white. I guess that's the quickest way. The girl replied. Urza nodded and dashed forward and took a swing at the twister. While Kana unleashed a wave of crash magic at the wind. However, Urza's sword was ripped from her hands and Kana's attack had no effect. Well, that was unexpected. Urza mumbled in a low voice. Kana gritted her teeth and gazed at the rapidly spinning winds. You're telling me my magic had no effect whatsoever? Kana, Urza, did you find him? Gray shouted as he ran over and finally spotted the large twister, causing him to stop and look up. Well shit, is that moron inside that thing? Yes he is. Kana answered in a low voice. Whoa, what is going on over here? Natsu shouted out as he and Happy finally arrived. Natsu, can you smell Naruto inside there? Kana quickly asked, wanting to have any information on her little brother. Natsu sniffed the air and his body stiffened up. Yeah, I smell Naruto, but the dragon slayer trailed off. I also smell blood, a lot of it. Urza's eyes grew wide. Is the blood Naruto's? The girl asked, lifting the dragon slayer by his scarf. There isn't any way to tell, blood all smells the same. It could be Naruto, the beast, or ever a combination of them both. The pink-haired dragon slayer answered. Then we must get inside that wind barrier. Master Makarov spoke up as he and the rest of the guild finally arrived. Every spell has a weakness, we just have to find it and then exploit it. Everyone nodded and started to think of a way to help Naruto and drop the wind barrier. Though back on the inside of the twister, Naruto was still fighting the beast. Take this, you stupid bastard. The blonde yelled as he expelled dozens of crescent-shaped gusts of winds at the beast, slicing the monster all over its body and forcing it to yelp a cry of pain. The beast fell onto its knees and started to pant, but its hell wasn't finished yet. Naruto raised his hand into the air, once again lifting the monster with his gravity magic. Then by holding his hands outward and together, a cannon appeared out of thin air around his hands. Death is too good for you, but this is going to hurt. Naruto began as 3 magical circles appeared before the barrel of the cannon. Let me show you something new I've been working on. The blonde mumbled in a low voice while fire, wind and lightning started to leak from the gun's barrel. The beast's eyes grew wide as the cannon suddenly erupted in a stream of magic, consisting of the 3 elements Naruto knew. The cannon shot ripped through the beast's left side and continued into the sky and past the wind barrier, allowing everyone outside to see the enormous attack soaring into the air. What the hell is that? Natsu shouted in surprise as he felt the magical power coming from the cannon shot. I don't know. Urza replied in an awestruck tone as she shuddered. But the magical power from that blast is enormous. The master stepped forward and watched as the attack slowly faded away, allowing the hole in the wind barrier to reform. I don't know what he did, but I do know Naruto was responsible for that blast. The aged wizard explained before looking to his guild members. Is there anyone here who has an idea of how to get within the barrier? Yeah, I have one. The voice of Makarov Dreyar spoke up arrogantly. Everyone looked to the side and watched the blonde S-class mage walk towards the group of fairytail wizards. Though as he got within a few feet of the crowd, Laxus crossed his arms and looked towards the wind barrier without doing or saying anything else. Then while everyone waited in suspense, he continued to do nothing. This action made Kana growl. Well, are you going to tell us your idea or just stand there? Stand here. The lightning wizard replied in a bored tone. Kana was infuriated. She took one step towards Laxus, but the hand of the master stopped her. Laxus. The master began in a soft voice. Please, I need to know if my grandson, your little brother, is okay. If you know a way to bypass the wind barrier, tell me. Laxus closed his eyes and remained still. No. Was the answer he replied with. Why you? Kana seethed in a low voice, half tempted to attack Laxus out of anger. However, before she could even move an inch, one very loud and very pissed dragon slayer rushed Laxus. Stop being a prick and help your brother. Natsu shouted as he tried to punch Laxus square in the jaw. Being outmatched, Natsu was easily stopped when Laxus brought a lighting-covered fist down on the teen, quickly knocking him into the ground. He doesn't need me or any of you. The second-generation dragon slayer replied coldly. Bray gritted his teeth. Like Natsu, he wanted to knock Laxus off his high horse, but he knew he couldn't do so. Urza, on the other hand, was about to rush the teen down and force him to comply with her demands of helping Naruto. However, before anyone else could get a word in, Mira walked over to Laxus and looked up to her fellow wizard with tears in her eyes. Do you even care for your brother? The white-haired girl asked in a weak voice. Because I loved my sister and that beast stole her from me. Are you not concerned about losing your own brother, or do you just not care? Miranee. Elfman mumbled in a low voice while watching the two S-class wizards. Laxus looked to Mira with no emotion. No, I'm not worried about losing Naruto because I know he is strong. Honestly, you are also concerned about going in to help him. Well, none of you thinking about why there is a barrier. Naruto doesn't want the beast to escape until he mangles its lifeless corpse. That's why no one can get in or out. Everyone was surprised by this revelation, everyone besides Makarov. He was already aware of what Naruto was doing, but it was a path he didn't want his grandson going down. Laxus, I'm not concerned about Naruto's physical health. Though your brother has been through enough mental trauma as is. The master shouted as he was finally fed up with his older grandchild. Naruto needs us now more than ever, so if you're not going to help us get to Naruto, you are more than free to leave. Laxus gripped his fists and looked around the area. Everyone was glaring at him with a mixture of looks. Some hate, other disappointment, and the rest were just plain depressed. Fine, whatever. The lightning wizard growled as he jerked his shoulder and started to walk off. Laxus stopped as he caught a glimpse of something huge out of the corner of his eye. It was the beast, and it was flying out of the wind barrier and headed straight towards him, giving him just enough time to act on instinct and roll out of the way. What in the hell? Natsu roared in shock, looking at the beaten, bloodied and mangled beast. It was still visibly breathing, but it was by no means in good shape. It looks near death. Mira mumbled in a low, almost satisfied voice. Bray couldn't believe what he was seeing. He was expecting to find Naruto seriously injured. Though he would have never thought Naruto could do something like this. Ana looked to the beast and then to the barrier, which was parting to revel Naruto, who bore an emotionless expression on his face as he walked out. Naruto. The crash wizard spoke his name with a shiver in her spine. Urza looked at Naruto and didn't know what to do. She had never seen her surrogate brother like this before. Even Makarov was at a loss. His grandson looked like a completely different person than the bright and cheery blonde he was accustomed to. Nari-chan, I'm so sorry. The master spoke in a low voice, a tear trailing down his face. Naruto paid no attention to his fellow guild members. Instead, he rose one hand into the sky, instantly coating his hand in bright white lightning. It's been fun, but I'm finished with you. The fairy god began as the lightning started to form into the shape of a spear. High above in the sky, unknown to everyone below, Mavis was watching her son. Her heart broke into pieces as she watched her son struggle with losing someone close to his heart. She only hoped he wasn't slowing going down the dark path his father took. Stop this, Naruto. The mother begged in a low and unheard voice while contemplating on showing herself and stopping her son herself. Though her voice wasn't as unheard as she would have thought. Naruto for a moment raised an eyebrow at the unfamiliar voice. He didn't sense anyone around that the voice would match up with. He looked to his left and right, then finally he started to look upward. However, as a hand clamped onto the blonde's wrist, he stopped and looked behind his back. That's enough, Naruto. The voice of his older brother Laxus declared. I think it's had enough. Everyone looked at Laxus with surprise, none expecting the action from the mage. Naruto frowned and tried to jerk his arm free. I'll be the judge of when it's had enough. The blonde replied in a stubborn voice. Laxus growled. I've sat by long enough and allowed you to do as you wished. Though I've had enough. The eldest of the two began as he tightened his grip. At first I believed you needed to express your anger and vent. Though I now realize that is not what you do, Naruto. This isn't what Lisana would want. Naruto's eyes grew wide, the lightning around his hand starting to fade. I have to avenge her. The blonde tried to convince Laxus and himself. Laxus shook his hand and brought the blonde into a hug, making Naruto stop channeling his magic altogether. No, you don't, Naruto, just look at the beast. You could torture and kill that monster, but nothing would change. Lysana would still be gone and there would be an empty void inside your heart. Then what do I do? Naruto asked in a low voice, tears slowly leaking out of his eyes. Take her memory and cherish it, use it to grow stronger. Become the great mage that I and Lysana both knew you would be. The elder Dreyar replied in a soft voice so only Naruto could hear. Train for 2 years and then help me make a fairy tale where innocent girls like Lysana won't die. Naruto listened to his brother's words and pondered over them. You don't have to say anything, just think about it. Laxus explained in a near silent voice before letting go of Naruto and walking off. Leaving everyone standing by wondering what the blonde had said. Though some like Kana and Urza didn't care, they instead rushed Naruto and tackled the blonde to the ground. You idiot. Kana cried as she buried herself into Naruto's chest. Don't ever do something like that again. Urza instructed in a stern tone, tears rolling down her face as she clamped Naruto's head against her armor. Naruto looked over between the two girls he called sisters. A fairy tale where innocent girls won't die. Maybe me training to protect my friends won't be enough, maybe Laxus has a point. The blonde mused in thought, thinking to himself that he didn't want to lose anyone else he loved. Makarov looked at his grandson with a soft smile. He has been through a lot, though there was a lot of love within the guild to help him. Why don't we all make our way back to the guild? The master proposed as he walked over to his grandson. Naruto nodded, but then shifted his gaze onto Elfman. That sounds good, but Elfman. I want you to reabsorb the beast soul. It's a power you may one day need. And I feel you will have much better control over it. Because it knows if it tried anything ever again, I will be there and I won't be merciful again. Elfman nodded and went to go do as instructed, while the rest of the guild looked at Naruto with a new look. All believing that something has changed in the blonde and they didn't like it. Well, here was part 1. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you want the next part, comment down below. And don't forget to hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss the next part whenever I will upload. For now, you guys can watch this video.